ref. That she got the ball. Good afternoon, Tottenham fans right across the world, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur for Match Day Live. And I hope you like toffees, because Tottenham welcome Everton down to N17 for our first home game of the season, which I'm sure we're all absolutely pumped for, to see how we can kick off our campaign at home. As you can see, we're joined by guests again. We'll go around to them and see how they are. Jacko. Oh, we'll come back to Jacko. We'll let him get settled there. It's nice and early for Jack. How are you, my man? Nice and early. Everyone in the chat, big up, Jack. It's like 4 or 5 a.m. where he is, and the commitment is insane.
No, yeah, sorry. The only person that's awake with me is this mosquito in the room, so I was actually trying to swipe away at him as you were doing your intro, Dave. Doing all right. It's crazy o'clock. I'm trying to channel my inner Dark Sun G, my inner Ribsy, getting up for these games, what these guys have to go through on a regular basis. Looking forward to this one, because it does feel like, I mean, we can be a bit dramatic at times, Dave, but this feels like, again, must win, because there are tough games after this one that Spurs, at least in the last couple of years, have not done so well against. And I feel like we need some confidence as a fan base, as a team, as a squad, and probably Ange Postecoglou. So I'm here getting up early, going through the grind, getting up early for the sawmill to hopefully grind out 3 points, saw out 3 points.
Well, it'll all be worth it if we get 3 points and Richarlison starts laying bags a couple for you, Jack. It'll be very, very worth it. Down to Dermotron. How are you, sir? How are you keeping today?
Fine, yeah, I'm fine, Dave. Always a pleasure to come back onto these match day build-up shows. Really gets me pumped up. A little bit of news, guys. Solomon to Leeds. That is actually very much going to happen. So that'll be another one out the door. But yeah, look, as I agree with everything Jack said, it's a must-win today. It's a game we should win. We need to do better than we did against Leicester. But look, it was 60 minutes of great football, 30 minutes of lost our way, but we can do better, but we will, and we will win.
Not a bad breakdown there. And, look, I also said in the predicted lineup that I think Ange Postecoglou is under pressure now, especially off the back end of last season. I got pelters in the comments. People saying, as soon as I heard you say that, Dave, I switched off and stuff like that. I mean, look, we can sit here and deny it all we want, but he is under a bit of pressure right now to start delivering results. And that is a conversation we will have for sure. But last but not least, down to Australia, Ribsy, how are you keeping? What time is it in the morning? Is it there for you, or evening?
Oh, it's 9 p.m. or 10 past 9 at the moment. So it's leisurely Saturday evening. It's lovely, actually. This time to be on the show. So appreciate you inviting me on. Things didn't go right, did they, at Leicester? And we're looking for them to bounce back today. It's same old story, just blunt on attack. Plenty of opportunities, it felt like, especially in that first half. And plenty of pretty good football in that first half too, but completely unraveled by a pretty wonky second half performance and a pretty average old result. So we're looking for something a lot better. And you could tell by Ange's body language, in that second half. He wanted to be anywhere else but there.
Do you know what I felt for him when he went down onto his hunkers after the goal scored? I really felt for him. It's like, what more do I have to do for these guys? I'm putting them in the positions to go and win games, and they can't do it. It's absolutely killing him as well. But we will start welcoming some people into the chat. Good to hear that the panel is all good and raring to go today. Basically, what we're going to do today is we're going to go through some stuff from the Leicester game. Then we're going to get into some stuff about the lineup as well, and plenty of other stuff, and anything else you guys would like us to try and fit in today and discuss. So let's welcome some people in from the chat. We have Patrick O'Donnell has become a new YouTube member. Big up, Patrick, my man. Really appreciate the support. And welcome to the community. We done 3 member live shows yesterday. We've got other stuff coming, like a podcast exclusively for members and stuff like that. And we do put out members only content. So make sure you will get onto that, Patrick, and really appreciate the support, brother. We've also got Alexander Valorous. Let's go, Tottenham. Make sure to like the stream so the channel can grow. Really appreciate that, Alexander. Absolute top man, and good to see you in the house. We've also got El Cockerel. Good morning, Dave, Jack, guests on the panel, all you great supporters in the chat. I'm an hour away from the stadium. Can't wait. Come on, you MF Spurs. You MF Spurs. Absolutely love that hashtag. We never stop. Jose, I hope you have a great day at the stadium, my man. I know you don't get to go to too many games, so hopefully you have an absolute great day there. Enjoy it, and hopefully we can get 3 points for you. Big yourself up, sir. And he also says, massive congrats on 15K. He's a channel member for 10 months. Really appreciate that. Honestly, I was just saying to Richie beforehand, when I started, I said to the missus, you know, maybe make a couple, or like maybe we'll get a couple of K subscribers or whatever. But never ever thought it would keep going the way it is. It's absolutely insane. So, and that's all down to you guys, by the way, who come in here, participate in everything that we do. This would be absolute nothing if you didn't watch, like, subscribe, support, you know, get in there with your comments, come on to all the shows that we do and stuff like that. So we appreciate it, everybody. Big yourselves up. We've also got 14 member for 22 months, still sucking from last week, but hope Spurs can change that. Look, I think there's a bit of anger around the Spurs fan base since that game on Monday night. And I know we can sit here and say it's first game in the season, but Postecoglou is talking about a title challenge, and they're his words, not mine. You can't afford to drop too many points across the course of the season when you look at Man City and Arsenal, even if you want to get into top four. And that's a game that should have been a banker over 3 points. So I definitely understand that, my man. Big yourself up and good to see you. Ribsy also says 15K, let's effing go. Come on, you Spurs. Really appreciate that, Ribsy, my man. And he's been here from day one, by the way. Ever since I made my first appearance on We're Talking TV, I couldn't take it any longer. I had to go on and have my say. And then Ribsy followed me over, and you know, he's been here ever since. So what a legend that guy is. Good to see Eddie in the house. Eddie the Ingle. Yeah, 3 years as well. Is that 3 years? Yeah, Jesus.
3 years of following the delusion. Thank you, Ribsy. I'm surprised you haven't put cotton in the ears yet at this point.
Absolutely. Really appreciate that. We've got Eddie the Eagle. I want Brighton to win, but I need Mainu and Mazraoui to have a good game. Why am I always torn? He's fantasy football. That's why, Eddie. We've also got Mark Satoshi. Well done, Dave and Jack, on your 15K subs. Really appreciate it, my man. Tommy K says you'll beat Everton today. I mean, look at Tottenham. We can't really take anything for a forgiven. We've learned that. We should have bet NS more a couple of years ago. We still lost that, didn't we? You know, so not everything is a given at Tottenham. Shem Tam says, good afternoon, Dave, and Sleeping Jack and the panel. Jack's not sleeping. He's here with us today. Hope all is well in your words. Spurs seriously need to put in a performance today. I'd rather Kulu start up top instead of Richie, and that's definitely a discussion we'll get on to. Me and Jack had that discussion yesterday. We actually sit on two different sides of the fence here, so we'll see where other people sit on that. Finn Rickwood says, big up Dave, Jack, and the rest of the panel. Good to see you, Finn. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. We've also got Lee Moody. What's good, boys? 3-1 win for us today, I reckon. Come on, you Spurs. I mean, I'd snap your hand off for it right now, to be honest with you. Lee, Wembley 1, as always, great to see you. Afternoon, boys, will be a tough game today. Deutsch will have Everton primed to frustrate us and to exploit our frailties 100%. Look, with Everton, we know what to expect. They're going to sit back, they're compact. They've only got 14, I think, fit senior players to pick from as well. So even their impact from the bench shouldn't be too good today. But what they will do is look to get the ball out wide to Dwight McNeil and Jack Harrison. Look to put the ball in at every opportunity. Look to win free kicks. Bombard our box aerially. They caused us massive problems in the 2 games last season. Can we deal with that today? Well, that's where the likes of Vicario, Romero, Van de Ven, that's where we should be scrutinizing them today, especially. Let's see how they do. Good to see a regular gamer in the house. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. Good to see you as always. Bob Bean Counter, big up, lads. Going to the game today. Wish me luck. Come on, you Spurs. Felix, hopefully you enjoy yourself at the game today. And like Jose, hopefully we can get the win for you today. Drew Zilla says, where's the source for this Ange Lo Celso argument? To be honest with you, I was so busy yesterday doing our own stuff, I didn't even see the source of the Ange Lo Celso argument. Anyone else know anything about this? Anyone else seen this?
I didn't even know there was an argument.
Yeah, no. The bloke said about 10 words total since he's joined Spurs, so I'm surprised you could even have an argument with him.
They are, Drew.
I actually I think it's probably Ange might be upset with the fact that Lo Celso hasn't found himself a move yet where others seem to. And Lo Celso, you know that there is interest in him. There are plenty of clubs that do want him, but he still sits here and he's still training about. And Ange is probably wondering if this guy is going to stay around just for the paycheck. I know a lot of people rate Lo Celso, but I am starting to question that, whether that guy is more motivated by the paycheck than he really is by the actual playing time, because Højbjerg got his move. Solomon's getting his move. Emerson got his move. Everybody's getting their move out, but it seems like Lo Celso, for what, longer than anybody else has been here practically at the club, has still somehow stayed around.
I'm actually convinced this guy hates Tottenham Hotspur, to be brutally honest with you. Drusilla, expand on it in the chat, my man. Big yourself up. K32, hello, Dave and Jack from Rainy, Ireland. Hope everyone is well. I'm feeling confident today, but gutted Solanke is out. Come on, you Spurs. Geez, all you ever seem to get down in Limerick is rain. Maybe an ideal spot for Dave to move to. I might have to start doing some house hunting down there.
No. You want to come to the sunny southeast. You want to come to Wexford, where it's always sunny. We are the Monaco of Ireland, so you need to come to Wexford, Dave.
No, backwards people down there. I'd rather take my chances in Limerick, to be honest with you, Dermo. No, Wexford is a nice county. Plus, I can get strawberries and potatoes. It's what they're famous for.
Special strawberries, remember.
Huh?
Special strawberries. Remember, special strawberries.
Yeah, special strawberries. Paul123 says, where are all these top youth players gradually disappearing to? Look, give it time. We'll see some of them come through when the fixtures get hectic. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Some of them are going out on loan, but I do think there has to be some understanding. Some of them have took their own decision to get themselves out on loan to play a full season of men's football rather than sit there and wait for their chance at Tottenham. That has to be taken into consideration as well. That is definitely happening with one or two of the youngsters for sure. We've got Brenda Only says, we need more. Mikey Moore, definitely. He was absolutely sensational the other night against Bristol. He absolutely ran them ragged every time he got the ball. He was brilliant. Good to see you. Phil Coy says it's game day. Big up Spurs Army. I'm going for 3-1 Spurs win. Sonny to shut the doubters up once again. Richie to score against his old club. Everton and Odegaard scoring off the bench. Lay on. You're going for a big win today, Phil Coy. Hopefully we can get that again. I'll snap your hand off for it. Be interesting to see whether Richie starts today or not, considering Postecoglou. I know Postecoglou said he'd be ready to go, but only last week he did say that he needs minutes and his legs and his fitness isn't up to scratch yet. So it'd be interesting. Spurs GCTV, great to see you as always. Hopefully you're keeping well. Kate Rixham in the house, great to see you. Hello, Dave, Jack, and Dermo. I guess she doesn't like you, Ribsy. She's just completely left you out there. So I'm only messing. Big up, Kate. We've also got Terry Betts in the house. Super duper Spurs, good to see you. We also have Wayne Bonner. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all well and plumped for the game today. 3-0 to the mighty Tottenham. Come on, you Spurs. We are absolutely all pumped up for today, Wayno. Despite Monday, we're ready to go again. That's the way I am on game day, my man. Angelo Tyros says Bergvall is a most skillful player. Should start today. Good day, Ribsy. He's also from Australia. We've also got Tony Rodriguez. Big up, guys. Vicario, Doji, Van de Ven, Romero, Porro, Bissouma, Madison, Bergvall, Son, Kulusevski, and Odegaard is my starting at 11. Not a bad starting 11, that one. Bergvall coming in. I think he's a fantastic player to watch. I'm just not sure he will start today. But let's wait and see. I'm open to be surprised. We've also got Hot God 10. Good afternoon, Dave, Jack, and Dermo and the chat. Come on, you Spurs. Great to see you, Hot God. We'll take a couple more, and then I am going to crack on. I'm miles behind. We have Brandon. Good to see you, Brandon. Patriot Times. Good to see you, Patriot Times. The View from Nowhere. Well done, lads. Good to see you as well. Hopefully you're keeping well. Lee Neri, great to see you, sir. Ed Sweating. Big up, Ribsy, Dermo, Jack, and Dave. Massive game and a tough one against Sean Dyche's Everton. Absolutely spot on. Gave us 2 very hard games last year, Ed. And I expect the same here again today, despite their injuries. We also got Christopher Inshaw in the house. Spurs record after 3 games will be 1 loss, 1 draw, and 1 win. Let's wait and see, my man. Let's wait and see. Big Pants, good to see you as well. Hopefully you're keeping well. We've also got Duye Fam says, I don't know, says, is that the tail? It's that tail of the tape. Are we going to create more chances? And if we do, are we going to finish it? I mean, look, that's what it's all about. That's what cost us points, against Leicester, but also cost us a large amount of points last season as well. Look, I gave my doubts about some of the signings we've made in the forward areas. Are they going to be clinical enough for what we need? Again, got pelters for it, but today's an opportunity for these players to stand up and prove me wrong. So hopefully they can do that, my man. We've also got James Love Spurs. Big up, lads. Come on, you Spurs. Great to see you. Anthony Jones, good to see you as well, as always. Checkmate, good to see you as well. Spurs plus Tottenham, Tom. We've also got Geoff Tottenham in the house. Great to see you. We've got Maisie's Adventure. Good to see you in the house as well. Chunky Cheeks, as always, says, let's go, lads. good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Dan Gaze is in the house. Great to see you. Mr. Dark Horse, well, great to see you in the house, along with Ange Ball and Rooty too. So I think I've welcomed absolutely everybody to the Irish thing. We like to say hello to absolutely everyone. You walk by people on the street, even if you don't see them, you say hello, how's your day going, and stuff like that. So guys, we are going to crack into it now. Keep smashing them like buttons, keep smashing that subscribe button, and feel free, if there's any stuff that we're not discussing that you want us to discuss, if you disagree with anything that we have to say, feel free to put it in the chat. But if you really do want to support everything we do, make sure it stands out, make sure we have to answer it, feel free to send it in a super chat, or even grab yourself one of them channel memberships for all that members only content that you guys are missing out on. But let's get straight into it, guys. Let's kick on. Jack, we'll start with you, my man. Tottenham did begin their Premier League season with a 1-1 draw at Leicester City. What positives can Spurs take from that performance, and where do they need to improve to take all 3 points today against Everton?
The positive is that we dominated Leicester City for first 45 minutes and probably should have won the game. I don't think we had to go through what we did in that second half, if it wasn't for, poor finishing and, the kind of the problem that we had from last season, which was, we just don't really step on teams' throats. And when we do have, really good periods like that, yes, we'll get a goal out of it, but we do seem to try to, for some reason, kind of take our foot off the gas, or we don't take it as seriously once we go a goal up. We kind of just think that the win will eventually just be given to us. We'll kind of just come our way. And I think we were guilty of that against Leicester City. And we did say, well, if they don't, basically finish them off in the first half, then they have to make it even harder on themselves by finishing it off in the second half. And then they didn't do that. They looked like they were going to, but then in kind of true Premier League fashion, lots of times teams do get goals against the run of play. They'll end up, finding maybe a couple of minutes here and there that they'll put the pressure on, and we succumb to it, and we eventually conceded. And that didn't need to even be the end of the world, really. We just then ended up, just losing our heads. But I guess the positive is yeah, we could have probably just won that game in the first half. We wouldn't have had to have the conversations that we will today. We wouldn't have had to have the conversations that we did after the game ended. And if Spurs just put away their chances and were a bit more clinical, then I think we would have, been doing Timo Werner dance floors, Richarlison pigeon dancing, all that sort of good stuff. But we just didn't, Dave. So Spurs can beat teams very easily and very quickly if they were to finish chances. So I think that's the positive to take, is that it wasn't just a terrible performance. And Ange seemed to think so as well. Like Ange did say that the frustrating thing was the finishing, but he felt like they did play well enough to win. And I actually would agree.
No, 100%. I mean, it's hard to deny when you look at it. We absolutely bossed that first half. And up until 57, 60 minutes, Leicester didn't really cause us too many problems. But the same old problems keep happening, Jack. We don't score enough at one end, and then we're very vulnerable at the other end. I mean,
exactly.
Look, there's a lot of, people put the blame in two different places. Some put it on the players, some put it on Postecoglou and his tactics. I mean, where do you think the lie blames for this, Jack?
To be honest, what really sucked about that game, Dave, is I think it kind of was on everyone. At one point, it was on the players because they didn't finish the chances. I mean, that's totally on Solanke. That's on Brennan Johnson. That's on, some of the other guys that had chances in the game that just didn't take them. And then later on in the game, I do think Ange had to start taking a bit of the blame, because he should have then saw that some of the players, they either were slacking off a bit, either out of possession or in possession, where they weren't really moving it as quickly, or they weren't thinking as clearly about creating chances and trying to get over the line and get that second goal. He could have probably noticed that some guys were taking their foot off the gas. And then also, as we know with Ange ball, players do tire, eventually, and they can't play the whole 90 minutes at that sort of sustained pace. And he could have tried to think about making some substitutions a little bit sooner rather than later. I have some sympathy, because I did hear someone say it felt like the ball just never went out of play. I think that was George Hill. And I do kind of agree with him on that. But still, I think there was probably a moment even earlier than that where Ange could have, thought about either a change in midfield. Pop Matasar wasn't the best of the performers. There was also some other guys, again, like Brendan Johnson, that could have been relieved maybe sooner rather than later. And I think Ange had to take a bit of blame there. And then towards the end, Dave, the final, kind of, portion of blame I could give to somebody would be our captains, Sonny, Romero, Madison. All three of them did not show the leadership that we needed, because we went a goal down and we kind of acted like babies, to be honest, after it, where we were losing our head. We were pretending like, it was the end of the world. Their shoulders started shrugging. They were playing within themselves, passing sideways, passing backwards. and we didn't see any leadership whatsoever from any of our captains in that second half. So from the finishing, from the strikers to the, maybe substitutions that could have happened sooner, to the leaders, not stepping up, because only going, conceding like that is not the end of the world, but they did act like it was, and they eventually lost their heads entirely, which is just really, I think the word is correct that we used during the watch along, pathetic, to be honest, because you will concede goals, especially in this system, and they acted like it was the game over, which, doesn't make any sense considering they were dominating Leicester for the entirety of the game. Why would you lose your heads like that? And they did. And so I think everybody takes blame, to be honest.
For me, there's two areas where I really think the blame needs to go on this one for me, Jack. And I agree with you about the leadership group. I think it's weak. I think it's feeble. Anytime the game gets tough, they go absolutely crumbling rather than stand up and be counted. They don't galvanize or, get onto anybody around them, stuff like that. I think it's absolutely weak. And we'll go on to the leadership group in a little bit. But I also think Postecoglou needs to take blame in two areas. One, starting Brennan Johnson. I'm sorry, I love Postecoglou, and everyone knows that. I've been, bar Paul Hippie Hotspur, I've been putting his name around there, and I really like what Ange Postecoglou is trying to do, and I get what he's trying to do. However, his persistence in Brennan Johnson is going to come back and bite him in the hole if he doesn't drop him very, very quickly. He didn't do anything over preseason. He started him again the other night, and again he was very, very wasteful. If Ange spoke about after the game about the need for more clinical finishing, but then stop starting Brennan Johnson, that's half of your problem. Nothing came down that right-hand side, and anytime Johnson got a chance, he absolutely spurned it. So stop starting Brennan Johnson. The second one, I agree with you on the substitutions, Jack. I get that they were standing there. The ball didn't go out for a while, and then Bentancur got the injury, so they were standing there for quite some time. However, Jack, we said it 10 minutes before that, that Postecoglou now needs to make a substitution. It's all one-way traffic. I saw Leicester coming at us. None of the leaders are standing up. You need to make a substitution now to try and regain control of this game, and I do think he left it too late. So there are the areas of blame for me for Monday night. Just quickly, Alpesh Patel, good afternoon. Hopefully you enjoy the game, sir. Make sure you get down there, sing loud and proud, and get behind the boys today. Big up, Alpesh, and enjoy yourself. And good to see Mario Sava in the house as well. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. I mean, Ribsy, same question down to you, sir. I mean, what's your thoughts on Monday night? Positives, and where do we need to improve to get 3 points today?
Yeah, well, it's, first of all, just ditto to everything Jack said. I absolutely agree with everything you just said there, and that was a very well-prepared response. On top of that, just referring to Jamie Vardy and the way he, not the interacting with the fans thing, but the way on his way off the pitch, he gave Romero an absolute serve. I don't know whether you saw that. And can't help but agree with the guy. I mean, if you're going to be the kind of player, and talking about the whole back line, if you're going to be the kind of player that is as well regarded and decorated as those players are, and then that one shot from a pretty crappy team puts us 1-1, I mean, come on, guys. I mean, that is just not good enough. And the fact that he stuck the knife in and really let him know, that's probably going to do us a favor, to be honest, because that, the more he gets called out for any time that he just falls asleep like that. Now, he wasn't the only person at fault there, but he's an expensive defender. He's worth a lot of money, and we've got a pretty good back line at the moment, and they should do better. So, I would say that they know that. I don't think that that's going to be a mystery to them. They would expect that they're going to come into this game with a more mindful approach, because you have to say, I would expect that sort of collapse of defense at that point came from the fact that they didn't have to do a whole lot of defending. They were part of the attack. They were trying to knock down the door. They were trying to get that second goal. And there was some pretty good football in there. But then when it all turned around and they had to defend, it fell to bits pretty quickly. And that just can't happen. They've got to, even if they've only got to make that one big defensive play of the entire match, which is, up until that point, that's pretty much what happened. Then they've got to be ready for it. They can't just, be lazy in that moment or have their mind on the next attack. They've got to be ready to defend. And they just weren't good enough. Apart from that, look, as you said, there were parts of that game when everybody made mistakes. There were parts of that game when everyone was doing fairly well. Madison looked better than he's looked in the last part of last season. The kids played fairly well when they came on. I don't think, obviously a few people were hoping that they'd turn it, they come on and turn it into a goal, but they came on and they performed admirably. You can't expect too much more from players at that age at this point of the season. So look, there's positives there. In terms of substitutions, Ange in a whole list of, what Conte was infuriating as well, in that he just wouldn't make substitutions. And his whole thing, I think, was, well, the players on my bench aren't good enough to go on the Premier League, onto the pitch. So I'm not putting them on. So that's not happening there. But it's slightly different with Ange. I think that he's fairly happy with most of the squad that he has, but maybe he needs to. It was obvious to everyone when that goal went in, and as Jack said, that their mentality completely collapsed. And that was the time when we needed a momentum shift. We needed new players on. And then, of course, there was the injury and everything stopped. And that was our momentum shift for us. And we sort of slowly got a little bit of control back into the match. But need to do better. I think we're going to see it better at home, though. I think that this will be an attitude adjustment in a lot of different ways. And I'm expecting a better result. But this is going to be a tough one. No,
look, I bloody hope so, that we see an attitude change today. I'm sure we should. Not even an attitude change. I think, just more of a concentration, go and carte diem, go and seize the day, as they say in Latin. But one thing I agree with you with, we shouldn't have to wait for an injury to stall Leicester's flow and for us to try and regain the game. If that injury didn't happen, we could have very well suffered a defeat, because it was going one way. In a way, I don't like it that Bentancur got injured. I feel so sorry for the guy, but it helped us out massively. It helped stem the flow and helped us regain a bit of composure in the game. And that is an area of concern for me, Ribsy, for sure. And then Dermo, same down to you, my man. What's your thoughts on the whole fiasco there the other night?
I have to say I was pretty pissed off and angry after the match, to be fair, for the way that we started. That first half was the best football I've seen us play in a long time. And if anyone wants to know what Ange ball is all about, that's Ange ball in a nutshell in that first half. But again, it's the same mistakes coming in. The same creeping in again. Leaders not standing up. Our leadership group is weak. By far. I go back to my era of the 80s. You had Steve Perriman, you had Graham Roberts, you had Paul Miller. There wasn't just one captain. There was 3 or 5, 6, 7 captains on there. But if you weren't doing your job, they would turn around and tell you. Sonny should be out there. It should be out. It's a bit like Harry Kane as captain. They're all led by the talent, not by mouth. I think you need a Roy Keane type captain that will turn around and say, you're not doing your job. Bleep, do your effing job. I think Ange has to take responsibility too for the substitutions. I think you can keep using the same excuse. We did well, but we lost our way. I'm sick of hearing that. We've had that under Mourinho. We had that under Conte. We had that under Nuno. We had that now under Ange. And I'm Ange's biggest fan, like you, Dave, and Hippie Ball. I've seen what he can do. We all know what Ange can do. And Brennan Johnson, for me, he needs to be dropped. I cannot accept a performance of him in a Spurs shirt. He's not good enough in a Spurs shirt. And I've been one of his biggest fans. And Monday just frustrated the hell out of me. He hasn't done nothing in pre-season. He hasn't done anything to prove to me that he can be the player that I was building him up to be. I still think he can do a job off the bench. I think
I agree.
That's his job. But you're a Premier League footballer. You're 22 years of age. You should be able to last 95, 96 minutes up and down that wing. There's people there. I'm 47 years of age, dodgy heart, back about to give out to me, fat, can't run more than 2 yards.
Jesus.
But I would do anything. I would run for 95 minutes for Tottenham and give it my all. Do you know, that's the point I'm making. He's 22 years of age. He should be able to last a 95, 96 minute match. And Tottenham, we need to stop making the same mistakes. If we keep making the same mistakes, we're never going to go anywhere. And then the crowd's going to get Ange's back. Levy's going to get happy on the trigger finger. Ange will get sacked. And then it's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. If we're going to play with young players, if we're going to stick with this sort of way we're going, come out and tell us, this is the plan for 4 years. I'm sticking with Ange for 4 years. We're going to go through the pain, but it's worth it. Then at least we know. Be transparent with us. Let us know. But I cannot accept another performance on Monday. And I cannot accept Johnson starting again. If he starts today, I really will start to question Ange as manager, because he has to start somebody different in that position. We cannot keep going the way we're going.
Look, I agree with a lot of what you said there. When it comes to Johnson, I actually agree with you. I think he's fine as an impact sub. It's where he made a lot of his impacts last season was as a substitute off the bench. He's better off coming off in games when there's more space, when teams are tired. There's a lot more space for him to operate in. I agree with that. And I agree with you also that we're not learning from the same mistakes from last season. And that's where a lot of the frustration around the fan base comes in after Monday night, is because we are seeing a lot of the same mistakes. You're absolutely spot on there. We haven't learned, the leadership group haven't learned, we haven't learned defensively, we haven't learned going forward. The same shit keeps happening. The minute there's a spell of trouble or a bit of pressure on us, we absolutely capitulate. And I agree with you. We need to start showing that we're learning from these teams if we really want to progress. Signings, of course, will help. But unless you've got players and senior players within the squad that are learning from their mistakes to help push that on, it's only going to take you so far. So we do need to learn our lessons for sure. And we'll get back into learning our lessons. Just give me one moment. Dark Sun G says, come on, you Spurs, let's win today with Odegaard, Son, and a Richie goal. Big up, Dark Sun G. Hopefully you're keeping well. What time is it over there for you in South Korea, my man? Look, big debate between myself and Jack. Will Richie or Kulu start? Postecoglou probably surprises, put Sonny up there. None of them will start. But who do you think should start up front today, Dark Sun G? Let me know. Also, Son has come in for a lot of criticism that I've seen since that Leicester game, which I don't agree with. Let me know your thoughts on that. And as for Odegaard, it'd be very exciting to see whether he makes his debut today, Jack.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if Odegaard can be given that trust by Ange Postecoglou. And, we've said before, it needs to be someone else than Brennan Johnson. I hope he gives that chance to Odegaard, or at least someone else, but really in particular Odegaard. With Richarlison, as much as I love Richarlison, and I really, really do, I'm sometimes convinced that Dark Sun G loves him just as much, if not more, because he always does seem to mention Richarlison, getting a goal about as often as he mentions hoping, Sonny, getting a goal. I wonder if he even celebrates the Richie even harder than he celebrates the Sonny ones, because, there's just that much more fun that comes sometimes with the Richie goal. And Sean Maddox sort of alluded to this in the group chat. He was saying, it's been a while since I've been practicing my pigeon dances. And yeah, it has been. I sort of just completely, evaded my mind, to be honest, Dave and Dark Sun G, that when's the last time we were doing pigeon dancing in front of all these people, to embarrass ourselves on the internet? It's been a long time, and I do miss it. I do miss being a grown man doing a pigeon dance in a room all by myself, on this camera. So hopefully we can be able to do that today. That's another reason to start Richarlison over Kulusevski up top, Dave. It's just so we can embarrass ourselves even further.
No, the pigeon scoring was some of my better days last year. And look, other people may not have been practicing it, but I was up late last night perfecting it, that's for sure. So big up, Dark Sun G. I'm ready to go. And he says 11 p.m. kickoff today. Not bad for you. It's better than what you usually get, to be honest with you, Dark Sun G. So hopefully you can sit back and enjoy it with some good food. And then we've also got Adrian Chia, the Curse. That's what I'm going to start nicknaming this guy, the Curse. He says, big up, lads. Bergval with a brace today. Come on, you Spurs. You might have to start the Bergval Third Society kit. Adrian Chia, so you will. Although your boy might be back today, soon, and that's another conversation we will have. But look, when it comes to Bergval, I really like the kid. I think he's shown great stuff pre-season. He came off the bench the other night. For the first few, he was passing forward, but then it's almost like he got sucked in and started playing a little bit more safe. What I would urge and say to Bergval is, forget about playing safe. You're coming off the bench, especially in a game against Leicester, to try and help us go and win the game. Go and do that. If it doesn't work out, at least we can sit there at the end of the game and say, do you know what? this man tried. You know, he tried. So there will be games where he will come off the bench and we're winning, and he will ask me to play it safe. But that's something that will come with the youthfulness, and if he gains more experience, that's something that will come where he'll learn. Okay, now I need to play safe. Now I need to go for it. So that will come. But big up, Adrian Chia. Good to see you in the house this morning, and hopefully you are keeping well, sir. But guys, back to us not learning our lessons. So Jack, we'll start with you again. Jamie Vardy's equaliser came after Spurs had squandered several opportunities. Do you think this result highlights a need for better defensive focus or sharper finishing from Postecoglou's side? Because there seems to be half of the blame goes to the back line from some of the fan base and half of it goes to the forward line. Where do you sit on it?
I think certain games you can start to lay a bit of the blame on the tactics because we have been exposed defensively way too easily, and it's not all the time because of the players or anything like that. But I don't think this was one of those games, to be honest. I think we have to sometimes check maybe at the door, some of the criticisms we have of Ange in the past games, and kind of just sort of, if we can, take a bit of that, whatever it is, previous sort of memory of games when it has gone wrong for us defensively. I don't think this game that Leicester City really exposed us that much defensively. I even saw like a Paddy Power, meme where they were, making fun of the fact that Steve Cooper was just launching it to Jamie Vardy for 60 minutes. And Jamie Vardy is like, am I supposed to run after these for 90 minutes? And I think that was basically Steve Cooper's plan. And it definitely wasn't working for him. He got very lucky, I think, that we didn't end up finishing chances. And that's what my majority of the blame goes on, is just the fact that these players in games like this, for some reason, they just don't seem to have that sense of urgency or that sense of anxiety about the fact, okay, we're one goal up to the good. We deserve to be one goal up, but we have to push on for two. And it does feel like they are, but they don't start to like have that inner bit of focus or that inner bit of panic where it's like, okay, we wasted enough chances now. Next one, we really do have to bury. Next one, we really do have to challenge the keeper, get it on target. And Spurs just don't seem to do that. They seem to squander a chance and then just think that the next chance is going to be even better, or that it's going to be okay because, the other player in the team will be able to finish the next chance. And no one seems to take on that type of responsibility, or in any way just seems to do what some really good strikers do, kind of like a Sonny, kind of like a Harry Kane of the past, where they almost take that bit of a breath before they finish, or they have that just bit of that time, before, where they do look like they're centering themselves, putting themselves in some sort of, moment where they're blocking out all the noise, blocking out all the pressure, and they just think about it simply and just put it into the back of the net with a clean, strike, straight through the ball. And I just don't really get it. I think that these players seem to have, I don't know, it's just like this training, sort of mentality where it's like they're out on the training pitch and missing chances, wide of the goal on a regular basis is totally okay because it's not an in-game, scenario. And in fact, it is. And that's where I blame, majority of that defeat on against Leicester City. I think that you have to put it mostly on the really, really wastefulness from the team. And this is crazy to say this, but I was listening to, of course, Talk Sport Dave and Jason Cundy and Jamie O'Hara. And normally I don't listen to them for sound logic on maybe how a game went, but Jason Cundy did say that he was shocked that Spurs didn't win that 4 goals to 0. He said it was just pure wastefulness from our forward line. And I think that is what goes down. That's the big lesson. That's the big takeaway from that game, is just wastefulness and just not being clinical enough. And I think it just comes down to the mentality of the players. I don't even think it's always quality wise. I think it's just more mentality. They seem to think that more chances are going to come our way without us getting punished on the other end. And you can't think that way. You have to start realizing that you will get punished, or you will eventually concede a goal against the run of play. So yes, we did end up conceding a really bad goal on Romero's end, but I don't think that is the real reason we drew that game. We keep saying lost, or at least I do.
It's like a loss.
It did sort of. And I don't think it really was entirely defensively. It was more finishing.
But no, do you know what? I agree with you. I think when we look at it, we've got a squad of really nice guys, really, really good human beings. But they lack that killer instinct. They lack that desire to be a winner. You have to be ruthless. You have to be prepared to trample on people and win at all costs. And I just feel like we don't have players like that. And, maybe that comes back to, why we're not killing teams off when we're in the ascendancy. Because last year we had another problem as well. That wasn't just finishing chances. We'd go 1-0 up and we'd stop creating chances. We'd just try and keep the ball and stuff like that. So it just goes to show me that We just lack that that killer instinct right now for sure. I mean, Ribsy, when you were speaking earlier, it seems like you put more of the blame on the back line though, because they didn't have much to do and they switched off.
I mean, for the goal, and at the end of the day, without that goal, we won. So, I mean, I'm just being pragmatic about it. But in terms of the results, as Jack was saying earlier, we should have scored, 2, 3, maybe even 4 goals in that first half. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and assume that we're going to score 4 goals and a half. It's probably not going to happen too often. But at least a couple of those should have been there. There was, I can't remember exactly who it was in attack, but there was one moment where I was in absolute disbelief that we hadn't taken a shot on this play, where it felt like we had one-on-one, like a fairly good opportunity to shoot. And it felt like more than 3 times within the same play, we had an opportunity and nobody pulled the trigger. We didn't even get a shot. And I just couldn't believe that you wouldn't even just have a crack. I mean, these guys get paid. They're worth a lot of money. The club paid a lot of money to bring them in to be goal scorers. And how can you not just, when you see the goalkeeper and the net and you're standing in the box and you've got the ball at your feet, how can you be a striker? It's like if you're a drummer and the opportunity comes up for a drum fill and you just decide not to do it. Like, what are you doing? Like, you got the kick, man. You got the sticks. Just hit the damn things. Like, what are you doing? But anyway. But
start smashing it. Exactly. Just smash it.
That's brilliant.
Anything. Just get on the snag. Just anything. Like, just, man.
So, Rimsy, let me follow up then. Is there anything that Ange Postecoglou can do to help us be more profitable in front of goals? Does it come down to signings? Is there anything Postecoglou can do on the training ground to help them become more profitable? Is it down to the caliber of players we've got across the forward line?
I don't think that there's any major problem with the caliber of players that we have. I think that the team at the moment is, I mean, obviously, if you've got someone like, it's always going to come back to, if we had Harry Kane, he probably would score more goals. Of course, any team would score more goals with Harry Kane in it, right? But look, it's one of those things where I just think that I think Jack once again said it perfectly. I think there's an urgency thing there where he needs to instill in the players that they have to take their opportunities, and if they don't, that's when he's going to be, a little bit unhappy, because he's got this whole thing where he's like, I want you to take the ball forward. I don't want you to make those passes that might not, pull off perfectly, but I want you to try to keep getting the ball forward. Why can't it be the same thing with when there's when you've got the ball and there's a shot on, take the damn shot, and this exactly the same sort of mentality with, if you're going to advance the ball up the field in the same way, if you're in a position where you should shoot and you don't, that's when I'm going to be unhappy with you. It's the same as a backwards pass, if I'm going to be standing on the sideline screaming at you to get forward, but then I'm not going to do the same thing when you just stand there and don't shoot. I mean, what's the point, right? It's the same, in my opinion.
No, 100%. And some of the times I think the reason why some of the players ain't shooting is because I don't think they're backing themselves. I think they know how profitable we are in front of our... Not profitable. I mean, that would be nice. How inefficient we are in front of goals. And it's almost like they don't want to take that shot because they don't want to be the one that's moaned about or singled out for missing and stuff like that. Hopefully we can rectify it. I agree with you for sure. Because don't forget, there was a question last year that was put to Postecoglou in the press conference. Are you instructing your players not to shoot or something like that? Because, they're having opportunities and they're shirking them up, passing them up. And Postecoglou came out and said, no. I'm telling them to shoot, so
that's almost systemic of the problem that they even ask such a question. Are you training your players not to shoot? It does sound like a pretty ridiculous question to even ask, an attacking man, like not even a defensive manager, an attacking manager as well. You would probably tell them the complete opposite. He's like, no, I want them to shoot away. Actually, it's actually it just shows how big the problem was. Sorry.
Yeah. But the fact, honestly, some of the questions that get answered to the guy, though, is absolutely, I'd be furious if I was asked that as a manager. I'd start laughing. I'd be like, so let me get this straight. The name of the game is to score goals to win games. And you're telling me, or you're asking me, am I asking my players not to shoot? It's illogical. It's absolutely madness. But you're right. And Ribsy's right. The fact that, it was happening so much last season and it had to be answered shows the systemic nature of the problem for sure. And then Dermotron, I mean, same with you. people attribute the blame in different places. Some people concentrate on the back line, saying, look, people say we've got quality players there, but are they really that good if they keep conceding goals the way they do? And you got people like me that go, look, if we took our chances, you wouldn't even be speaking about the other end. So where do you put the blame?
If an Ivan Toney was up there, would he have taken them chances? Probably he would have done.
Hot take from Darmo.
I think Solanke was injured quite early. We know he's got an ankle injury, so that sort of disrupt his game. If that's the case, then Ange should have taken the initiative. Right, okay, you got an injury. We're going to take you off. I know it's your debut, but we're going to put Richarlison. We need a fit player up there. I think the defence need to take a hard look at themselves. We can't keep switching off all the time. We keep switching off, and we keep coming back to this same question. We're too nice. We had this under Mourinho. You have to be a bunch of whatever, a bunch of see you next Tuesdays.
Yeah,
and we're not. And we're trying to score this perfect goal. We're like them lot down the road under Wenger. They were accused of doing that when he was in charge, when they were trying to walk the ball into the net. We're doing the same thing. Tottenham have never been like that. There's a part of Tottenham's DNA where you go through the history of Spurs, and I've seen enough of it myself, 48 years of age. Back from the 80s and 90s, we were taking pops from everywhere. Glenn Hoddle would take a pop from 40 yards out, 35 yards out. Gazza would. Chris Waddle would. Played even up to Ginola and up to now. But we seem to stop doing that. You can't keep blaming Ange for everything. But Ange has to make the point to these players. If you don't do what I say, you're not going to play. And you can't keep picking the same players again and again and again because it ain't working. And fans are going to there's already enough fans out for Ange at the moment. I'm Ange in, by the way, before anyone starts questioning, am I Ange out? No, I'm Ange in. But there's even a limit to my loyalty of how far I'm going to back this manager. And it all comes back to players have to go out and do their jobs. If you want to win stuff, you got to be, excuse my language, you got to be bastards. And we're not. We're being the nice kid in the playground. Oh, that's all right. You can have my dinner money, but against the bully instead of fighting back. There's no fighting mentality. You wear that shirt. You wear it with pride. You fight for that cockerel on your shirt. That shirt doesn't belong to you. We're lending you that shirt. It does not belong to you. Fight for fuck's sake and fight for the team. Fight for the club and fight for us. That's all we ever ask. We don't ask for much. We pay good money. You earn hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. All we ask you to do for 90 plus minutes is fight for the shirt and fight for the cockerel on that shirt. And if you can't do that, then think about doing something else. We cannot keep it. It's rinse and repeat again. How many times have we gone down this road? How many managers have we gone down this road? I'm starting to believe today's players are weak mentally.
Oh, yeah, 100% they are.
They're not like the player. And you can blame Ange, you can blame Levy, you can blame who the hell you like. But the cause of the problem is that today's players are weak mentally. They don't care because they're on too much money to give a shit. They just want to go out, go through the paces and get their paycheck at the end of the month. Well, if you didn't pay them, if you say, right, if you don't win a certain amount of games, you're not getting paid. Then you see a difference. Then you see them running around and putting tackles in. I think the blame has to slowly and really go on the players 100%. I don't think Ange is not telling them not to shoot. It goes on the players for me. I think that's the blame goes for me. Sorry.
No.
For the longevity of them. Sorry for
no, you're
as well. Sorry.
No, you're absolutely spot on, lad. You know, these players, like, I can't forgive Romero and Porro switching off for that equaliser. You know, they're paid to concentrate, to stay switched on, to not allow that to happen. You know, I can't forgive the players. Look, players will miss opportunities, but the amount we miss, I'm sorry. What are you doing on the training ground? Are you working on your shooting in the training ground? If it's not up to standard, are you staying back and doing extra beyond what the club are making you do? I don't feel like that happens at Tottenham sometimes. When you actually listen to the best players in the game, they all speak about staying back after training, working on things. Harry Kane, for instance, staying back, working on training, or working on finishing and stuff like that. You know, I don't think that happens at Tottenham Hotspur. And I think there definitely needs to be a bit of an attitude change or an attitude adjustment there. I feel like if you've got players that 100% come through the academy and they dream of playing for Tottenham, I think they're more than likely to do it. But players that we sign, I don't see it happening. Anyone really staying back and working on things, and you never hear it being spoke about as well. You never hear it being reported on. And I do feel like that's concerning and maybe something that's lost in this modern sort of day. They all come in, just do the work and go home. And look, some of it could be down to the fact that I know some clubs do ask players, we don't want you to do extra because there's this thing called the red zone. We don't want you to overload and stuff like that. But I'm sorry, someone out practicing shooting, crossing or passing, it's not going to put you beyond the red zone. You're not doing bloody much running and stuff like that. So there's no excuse not to do it. They're just mollycoddled, overhyped men, some of these. I'd go as far as some of them are absolute babies, you know. And look, Ollie Skip, for instance, he's one. If he just if he looked at the position he was in with all the midfielders around him and says, what can I do to make myself valuable to this team this season? Go and work on the training ground, get on the ball, start spraying balls around from a deeper position. That's what we lack in this team. He didn't go and do it, and I don't think anyone else told him to go and do it. And these are little tricks that we miss at Tottenham Hotspur to be able to develop our players even further. Absolutely spot on, Dermo. But when it comes to, one second, just when it comes to the forward and the defence, look, for me, can we defend better? Of course we can defend better at times, but largely going forward has always been our main problem under Ange Postecoglou. Last season, if we took our chances, we're not even having the conversations about the one goal that we can see down at the other end that becomes costly.
Yeah.
Last week, we had 71% possession. We had 501 passes or 601 passes compared to Leicester's 211. We had, I think, 15 shots on goal. Leicester had to make 38 clearances, 5 blocks. You know, absolutely madness, and yet we still couldn't put them to the sword. That just goes to show to me that the forward line is the issue. Look, in football, no matter how much you dominate a game, you're always going to concede 1 or 2 chances down the other end. Now, of course, every time we do it becomes costly. That needs to be adjusted a little bit, but you're still going to concede 1 or 2 chances, but we don't take them up the other end, and that, for me, is the biggest problem.
Completely agree. Well said, Dave.
I mean, look, I feel science has come too much into the game as well. I mean, there's too much. And I really, maybe because I'm an older fan, that I remembered like the good old days. And a lot of people say, oh, granddad is talking again. And there's a younger generation that haven't seen what I've seen. But men were men back in them days. They didn't shirk their responsibilities. If you went 1-0 down, they would doubly try harder to get back into games. And we don't have that now. Romero's supposed to be this good hard man. Yeah, I'm a hard man. I put these tackles in. Well, where you
say that to his face, Darryl.
I would actually. I actually would. I would have no problem saying that to his face. But the problem is, where was he when we went 1-0 down? He went missing. We're supposed to be these leaders that are supposed to drag us by the scruff of the neck and drag us. That's what captains do. You see Brian Robson of Man United or Roy Keane or Graham Roberts or captains Robbie Keane for us when he was captain. He had Edgar Davids up the wall in the dressing room.
Punched him up, didn't he?
Yeah. These are the people that you need to drag you out of the gutter when you're 1-0 down and not behave like a pair of babies crying in the corner because you lost your rattle. For Christ's sake, you're men. Act like men. Put a tackle in and take your chances. Football is about taking chances. If you don't take your chances in the Premier League, you will get punished. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. The Premier League isn't for babies, it's for men. For fuck's sake, grow up and act as a parent.
No, absolutely spot on. Anyone else anything they want to add to that before we kick on?
I think you're right, Dave, about there were a lot of games last season where we did end up having to question some of the defensive tactics of Ange. And I think certain games that is, well and worth it, because there were times when we did get exposed maybe too often in a game. But it did feel like, there was that mix of, well, if we did just bury these 3 chances, that not even like down to stats or anything, like you look at 2 the chances Solanke had, he should have put away at least one of those. And you could even argue there were 3 or 4 that he had, but he at least should have put away one of them. That makes us 2-0 up in the first half.
Yeah.
Then you also look at the chance from Bentancur, remember, at one point where
Right
Bentancur
before
was
the
just right in front of the goal, and he didn't put away that. There was another one where Ndidi, for some reason, was able to just save everything off of the line, for Leicester City. One of those should have gone in, maybe in some capacity. Not even sure if we take blame for that, but one of those should have gone in somehow. And then there were some other chances here and there by other players. For example, Brennan Johnson's another one that is also an example of we should have been 2-0 up in the first half, or he had that one that just flashed right in front of the, across the goal. But it looked nice. Like it looked like a placed finish and everything, but he actually missed the goal entirely and didn't even challenge the keeper whatsoever. That should have been in the back of the net. So that's how I sort of look at it, is we could have been 2 goals up in the first half. We would not have then had to worry about, the goal that goes in the back of our net in the second half, like you're saying. So it's this frustrating thing where we do have to then look at Ange, but there are certain games when we have looked at Ange when we probably shouldn't have had to, because the players just didn't do their job in the final third. And so I think that's a good distinction to make.
No, 100%, guys. And look, we're going to ask one more question around the Leicester game, actually around Postecoglou, and then we're actually just going to kick on into talking about players in the lineup and stuff today, because I know we have to talk about this, and we should. It's important. There's only so much I can take on the build up to a game before, I want to start talking about the game and stuff like that. So I'll have one more question on Postecoglou, and we'll move on from these sort of topics. But Dark Sung G says Richie scored 3 of his 11 goals against Everton. For your information, he did. He scored 2 at Goodison Park and 1 at our place as well. So he does have form against scoring against Everton, last season. And probably that's why Postecoglou is more inclined to probably go with him rather than Kulusevski today up front, is, to see what Richarlison can do and maybe spark him into life, and it would be good to try and get him to score a goal before we head into Newcastle away as well, because we're going to need him, because again, no Dominic Solanke. So absolutely spot on with that one, Dark Song G. And hopefully I will be doing the pigeon celebration today, my man. Big yourself up, and good to see you in the house. We've also got Adrian Chia says Bergvall played safe after the rollicking from Vic. Look, I think Bergvall was starting to play a little bit safe before that, Adrian Chia. The rollicking from Vic, I see a lot of split opinions about it on social media. Some people, don't think it's not good for Vicario to do. Some people say he's absolutely right. Just because Bergvall's a young lad, it doesn't matter. He needs to learn. Look, the way I see it, at least someone had the balls to call someone out for making an error. That's the way I see it, and if we had more players like that, it would do us the world of good. And I've heard this a lot over the last few years, especially under Jose, under Conte, that, everyone has to be nice to each other. This is the modern way. This is the game, stuff like that. But then we get what we get out on the pitch. When times get tough, you don't get anyone that can stand and put their head above the power pit and call people out where necessary. And that's what's needed here, and we have to get with that. We have to understand every great team that goes on to win things has 2 or 3 players within that squad that have no problem telling people some home truths. Leadership just is not about being everybody's friend. You also have to, be able to pull people out, tell them some hard truths that they don't want to hear, stuff like that. Yeah. There's more to it than just being everybody's mate. And I actually applaud Vicario for it. Don't get me wrong. It's Bergvall. It's a young lad. May seem harsh. But unless Vicario pulled off that save, that could have come back to haunt us. And, I'd rather someone tell Bergvall that you can't get away with that very, very quickly rather than not and allow him to do it again. However, where also, if he's going to be consistent with Bergvall, and this is where I disagree with Vicario, pull out Romero, who put Bergvall in that position in the first place. Don't let him away with it. It's like he's almost afraid to shout at Romero.
Exactly.
You shouldn't be. Be consistent with it. If you're going to do it for one,
do it for another. Don't just do it to the young lads. Also do it for the experienced players in the squad, Adrian Chia. Big yourself, football man, and really appreciate support. Joe Phillips wants a 3 at the back. Look, I see this a lot as well. Unless we bring in more defenders, we're never going to go to a 3 at the back. We're already short. People that are asking for a 3 at the back, we're asking them to play Dragusin, Romero, and Van de Ven. Who have we got to come in after it? We don't. So it's just not a possibility. We've also got this from Paul Markey. Big up, Paul Markey. Good to see you. You must be a happy camper. You know, your guy Skip is gone. I know you weren't a big fan of his. He's gone. You don't have to put up with that any longer, Paul. But Jack, he says, totally pissed off with recruitment, screaming for a proper 6, and don't bother about Ugarte. And look at the dead United get, or look at the deal United get, which I think they got him on loan. But also, Jack, I'll add to Paul Markey's super chat here. Tottenham said they weren't signing any more midfielders because they were happy with Bergvall and Gray, yet they're looking at Hayden Hackney at Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I don't, Paul Markey, I just think that Spurs, they have been very guilty this year of not pushing for signings that would be harder to do, or, take bigger money, take maybe bigger agents deals, dealing with bigger clubs who can't get bullied by us, or, don't know how to deal with, the Daniel Levy type of negotiations. It has felt like a summer where we've just gone after more opportunistic sort of, moves and things like that. And also have gone for this whole younger player renovation, which I'm all for, don't get me wrong. But I have just said recently in recent streams that we did lean a little bit too far that way, I think, this summer than we should have. And I'm actually all for these younger signings because I think in the long run, we'll see the benefits of it, and we will see the fruits of that type of recruitment. But this summer did require certain players in certain positions to be of immediate quality, guys that can step into the first team, push players for their starting roles, and give kind of people a scare. That one of those was the right wing, for Brennan Johnson and for other players, bring in somebody that will, scare guys and will make them feel like that their position is under threat. And to be honest, I think that number 6 role was another one as well, where I had called for, I think, someone that it's felt like kind of a Tottenham move, to be honest, but I called for someone like a Cristante, who I really liked at Roma and was kind of like 27, 28 years old, kind of felt like a guy that has been around for a bit and, just seemed like a decent deal for Spurs. Ugarte, I think, is a better player than Cristante, but we needed someone that has been an established international, an established pro that can walk into the Premier League without being intimidated by it, or can go into a system like this and has played in systems like this before, can walk into the team straight away. And we just haven't done that this year. I think Archie Gray is starting to even show that, where he's being, he's had good games, but then he's also had games where he's played a bit within himself, and he's played a bit like, an 18-year-old would, a bit intimidated, kind of not really feeling comfortable straight away. And guys like an Ugarte, who've played in huge matches, big games before, would be able to step in and challenge guys straight away. And to be honest, as you might have pointed out in the past, he kind of has that bulldog kind of energy like Ugarte, which Bentancur does as well. That's why I really like Bentancur, is that he has this sort of bull-like energy in midfield where he doesn't get intimidated by anybody and is kind of, straight away, very intense and really focused, from the get-go. And I think Ugarte is a similar type of player, at least mentality-wise. And we needed someone like that in the midfield. And Spurs just haven't done that. They've just gone for really young signings that will eventually be, in my opinion, top class players in the Premier League. But, will they do that straight away in the beginning of this season? Not so sure. And so Ange Postecoglou is going to have to deal with that. And I think it is an opportunity missed. And I think you've been right this whole summer, sadly, Paul Markey.
I'll come back to this one, Paul Markey. Just give me a moment, because I do want to let the boys answer, and I have something to say as well. But sorry, Jack, I was rude there. Did you want to say that to Dark Sun G, and then we'll go on to Adrian Chi again after?
No, just back to what Sean Maddox had said before, Dark Sun G, about, I'm missing the days of, probably, what was it, a collection of, might be upwards of 1 million, men and women and children around the world doing a pigeon celebration, all in synchronization, at once. It's, it's like the time when, you feel like a shockwave around the earth or something like that. But in this case, it's the form of a Richarlison goal. So hopefully we can get the pigeon celebrations dusted off. Let me know if you've been practicing them, Dark Sun G. Dust off the cobwebs of your pigeon celebration.
Big up, Dark Sun G. And Jack, anything you want to say to Adrian Tria? There seems to be a common theme here with your super chats. He loves Bergvall.
Well, with Bergvall, one thing to be said is that I agree with you, Dave. Like, he did play with a bit within himself, but he is pushing people for starting spots. He's pushing Sarr. He could take the number 8 role, and he could also take Madison's role. I think Madison played well enough in that first game to probably keep it yet again, but it doesn't matter. Bergvall is pushing people, and that's a good thing. And I think you covered it really well, Dave, honestly, on Vicario, where it's a mixed feeling for me because we were asking players to do what Vicario did, which is kind of just scream at people, tell people, come on, lads, we need to go on and win this. Let's focus up here. But he did kind of do it as well at sort of the wrong player at the wrong time. And that's where it was a bit of a mixed feeling where we were just asking Sonny, Romero, Madison to basically do what Vicario had done there. But Vicario's timing of it wasn't necessarily the best. And I wonder, since he's not as much of an established elite player like Romero is, if he's not that comfortable with doing that to someone like Romero, because he's only just come from a team like Empoli, and he's only just kind of come onto the world stage like this. So whereas Romero is a world-class center back, and he might be a bit intimidated to do that. So it's a mixed feeling for me. I think Vicario had the right intentions, but maybe didn't do it at the right time with the right player. And Romero gave him a suicide pass. So, he should have given both of them a rollicking.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Don't want to alert anybody. Did check on Twitter on the players coming off the coach, into the stadium. Didn't see Pedro Porro. Don't know whether that's designed by the media team to keep people guessing or not, but I did not see Pedro Porro, and I did see Jed Spence. So let's wait and see on the lineup, what happens there. But Derm, our Ribsy, anything you want to say here to Paul Markey?
Oh man, you guys said it all. Honestly, what a play! He's the Uruguayan, right? Plays at PSG.
Yeah.
We're not going to play like that this window. It's not happening.
It's
Do you know what annoys me though is you look at a lot of I was on Savage yesterday, and I done a short stream with him, a pre-record, and we went through all the signings that Postecoglou made. And I check anybody to go out and go check it out and go over to that section. But we went through them. Majority of these signings that have come in under Ange Postecoglou are not his signings like many people allude to. There's a couple that are, but a lot of them, when you go through them, especially some of the younger signings, they're all players that, Madison, for instance, that's a player that Tottenham tracked since he was 19 years of old. Brennan Johnson, they tracked before Ange Postecoglou came in here. However, I'll concede on Brennan Johnson because Ange seems to absolutely love him. Voskovic, he was signed before Ange Postecoglou. Ashley Phillips, we were trying to get him in under Conte before Ange Postecoglou. There's Archie Gray again, we were chasing before Ange Postecoglou. So there's a lot of signings that we made.
Yeah.
That I'd argue aren't Postecoglou signings. And where my frustration comes in, Paul Markey, is I don't think we've gone after this window with the right gusto. We came into this window with 3 or 4 players that we needed to sign of genuine quality to really push this on to try and catch the Arsenal and the Man City. And I don't think we've done that. I've had my concerns on the signings we brought in. Are they of the right caliber that we need to really kick this on? And for me, I'm at the point where I feel like we're building for when Guardiola leaves Man City, rather than actually want to commit the funds this summer to try and catch Man City while he's there. And that's my biggest concern about this window. And the reason why you won't see Postecoglou kick up a fuss is because he obviously took this job on the remit. He will work with the players that the club bring in. Jose and Conte didn't want to do that. But they had a change in tact, and I do think Postecoglou agreed to do it because he also wanted to take a job in the Premier League and have a crack at the Premier League as well. He often talks about his fond memories of the Premier League, watching it growing up and stuff like that. So he is going to work with it, and he's not going to sit there and call the club out on the transfer policy either, which would be the next question. People go, well, Dave, if Ange's happy, why won't he call them out? Well, the reason why he won't, when Jose did and Conte did, and any other manager at any other club criticizes the club's transfer policy, they do not last and they're gone. They're sacked, when they start calling out the owners and other people in charge of transfers. So that's why he's not going to do it. But I am really pissed off with this window. I actually think we've let Ange Postecoglou down massively. And I think we're actually asking him to paper over cracks like we have done with other managers. And I feel sorry for Postecoglou to a large degree because I don't think he's happy with this window, to be brutally honest. I look at some of the demeanor of some of the press conferences he's had over the summer, some of the answers, the way he said it. I think he feels a little bit let down personally. And like I said, I just feel like we've absolutely made a mess of this window, to be honest with you, Paul Markey. We're still sitting here needing a number 6, still sitting here needing another left-sided centre-back, still sitting here needing someone that can either get to Destiny Adogie's level or offer us something different at left-back that's not as costly as Ben Davies. We're still looking at it right now. We don't know whether Udebar is going to come good or not, but we still need a right winger as it stands. I think we've made an absolute mess of this window, and I don't think we've addressed the problems. I'm actually in a full agreement with you, Paul Markey. I know people are going to say, Dave, it's negative, but I was consistent last year. I said to everybody, we need to bring in quality in this forward line, and I don't think we brought in the quality that I think we need. So people can call me negative. I get it, but people have called me negative in the past, and it's come back to haunt us later on in the season, and everyone starts screaming about the stuff I've screamed about pre-season. So if you're going to call me negative, take that into consideration. Dermo, anything you want to say to Paul Markey?
Look, I think everyone has to take responsibility. I think Ange has to take responsibility. I think the scouting department have to take responsibility. I think it's easy. I think it's really, really easy just to blame Levy for this. I do. I'm not a Levy outer. I'm not a Levy inner, but I will call it how I see it. You can call out Levy as much as you like, but it's down to the scouting department and the transfer team that are saying to Ange, these are your players. You take it or you leave it. He knows he needs players, so Ange's going to go, okay, I'll just have him and him then. Why we're not going for the big players? Why are we not going for the players that we know that would fit an Ange system? And we seem to be always buying for the future. Why not buy for now? It's been a very, very much underwhelming window for me. It's that we've missed a massive chance to take a leap against the other teams, with teams that have been in financial problems with FFP, with teams being in financially strapped, where we're supposed to be. We can spend anything up to 400 million against FFP. Why are we always every window struggling? Why are we always every window bringing in youngsters? And don't get me wrong, the likes of Archie Gray and Bergville, absolutely over the moon with them. But why can we have not pushed the money out to get a proper striker? Why can we not have pushed out to get and choose the number 6 at Celtic? Why not go after Matt O'Reilly? Why not go after McGregor at Celtic? Bring in players he knows that if he knows when he puts them on the job, he knows they will do a job for him. And again, Tottenham do not. We're to dare us to do. We're to dare us to the future. And it's getting very frustrating for me that, again, we've let another manager down. But Ange has to take responsibility because he has to. I think he should have the balls to say, this is not what I want. If he says it in private, it's different saying it in public, but even saying it in private to I want this player, go and get me this player. Instead of saying, okay, I'll take what I can get. Ange's never done that anywhere else. Why is he doing it now?
I disagree. He has to have done it everywhere else. Celtic wouldn't have a large budget that he would have liked, but he would have had to compromise to bring in players from elsewhere. Same in the Japanese league. I disagree with that.
Yeah, you can compromise too much though, and that's the problem. He's compromising too much. But I think the blame lays with the transfer team, the scouting department, and the people that are doing these transfers. I cannot wait for the Don to come back to take full control again. Because I think then you will see proper. He's the ones that identified Vicario, Romero, and all of these players that have come in.
Yeah,
I think we're missing him. We're missing his leadership. We're missing his guidance. And we had a chance to overtake Chelsea. We had a chance to overtake a few teams, and we haven't done it. Chelsea have bought more players than us, and they're supposed to be broke. It makes it's a bit of a joke that we can spend up to 400 million and not buy anyone, and Chelsea buy 23 players and they're supposed to be going bust.
Well, that's where it does come back round to the owner. You know, is he willing to commit the funds? You know, that is solely on the ownership there. But Paul Markey, big yourself up, my man. Let us know what you think on what we've had to say there, and really appreciate the support and the talking point, Paul Markey. Take a couple of quick chats here and we'll kick on again. Longy says Dave is Is it a confidence thing with the forwards not taking the chances? I think that's a large part of it for sure. Look, I think some of them know they're lucky to be at this level, to be brutally honest with you. And when that plays on your mind, you have an hope in hell. Good afternoon, Daniel Phil. Great to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. Bobby K as well. Good to see you. Hopefully you and the kids are keeping well, my man. Aussie Spur TV, big up chat. Great to see you as well. Haven't seen you in a while. Hopefully you're keeping well. Tuned in from the land down under. Oh, Foggy Foam, I just deleted the comment by mistake, but I'm supposed to say hello, Foggy Foam. Hopefully you're keeping well. Shikari Shock says, but fake reviews to Bollock, Romero, and Porro for their non-existent market for the goal. There needs to be consistency. Absolutely spot on there. Share that sentiment. Tequila says, so Dave, so Dave saying Ange is a yes man. That's going to get you into trouble with a lot of people, Dave. Big up, mate. Look, it may get me into trouble with a lot of people, but I still think people have this idea of managers are still like what Sir Alex Ferguson was at Man United, where he had total control over absolutely everything, over everybody he brought in, over everybody he sold, over every youth player that he signed. Management isn't like that now. If you actually go back and look at a documentary that Sky Sports done last week, it's called Gaffer. They interview Brendan Rodgers, Mancini, other managers like that. They all say it doesn't work like that anymore. The club bring in the players and it's up to you to work with them and get the very best out of them. You might have a say in one or two that you might initially want to bring in to help instill your philosophy and stuff like that. But apart from that, it's all down to what the club can afford and stuff like that. It's not the way Sir Alex Ferguson had to be. So in respect, nearly every single manager now is a yes man. And that's just the harsh reality of it. That's just the truth of it. And I think people need to start understanding that. There's Foggy Foam. Big up, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. He says Porro is here. Well, he sent us a picture on Instagram. Thank God, because the club hierarchy were playing tricks with me. They didn't have him getting off the bus. And then Tequila also says maybe so, Dave, but Ange says in pressure that he gets last say on him. 100%. But again, last say, which means the club will go, these are the two players we've got lined up. Have a phone call, see which one you want. It doesn't necessarily mean he has full say on it from start all the way through to the finish. Last say means he's the one that makes that phone calls and makes sure they're coming to Tottenham for the right reason. But it does not mean he has every single pick on the player that's coming here on that one, Tequila. Big yourself up, my man. And then we also have Simon Cole. Good to see you. Hopefully you and the family are keeping well. And then we've got Craig Chicken on a Basketball. Fenner. Good. Change the name, Craig Fenner. Good to see you, my man. This afternoon, guys. It's a must win today. Come on, you Spurs. Well, look, that's the next question we're going to get into. Not going to spend about 5-10 minutes on it because I'm conscious about the lineups coming out and I want to get through some questions. But is Ange Postecoglou under pressure right now, Craig? And I presume that's where you're coming from. It's a must win today with some of the fixtures we coming up, and you're absolutely spot on there, Craig. Hopefully, despite what we're saying here today, we can actually go out and put on a 3-4-0 win. I can sit here and gloat and be at my best very next week. That's where I'm at my best, when we're winning and when I'm arrogant. So hopefully I can get to that point this year, Craig. Good to see you, my man. And then we also have Shawnee Maddox do these neck stretchers and a proper warm-up. A few pigeons may be required.
You don't want to strain anything, Dave.
No, look, I've already been up this morning. I've been rotating the neck around like that, making sure that the muscles are nice and fluid. You know, the arms, I've been swinging them around as well. Ange did ring me. He said, Dave, you getting ready for a sub today? I says, look, Ange, I know you need me. I can't. You know, Pigeon needs me today. So, unfortunately, you know, I have been getting ready for sure. Shawnee Maddox in 12 months, a whole year. It's been longer than that. He's just had
very kind, Sean.
Big yourself up, Shawnee. Good to see you. And also the Belgian Hotspur, as always, great to see you. But maybe to Craig's point about today being a must-win, guys, where's my question? So, basically, guys, I want to know, is Ange Postecoglou under pressure, right? Because there's been knives out for Postecoglou from about October, November last year all the way through. We finished the season in absolutely shocking fashion, right? Not real much fighting stuff, especially the big games. Then you come into this season, Ange was always under pressure, and he probably put himself under even more pressure by saying he wants to be in a title challenge, you know, this season and stuff like that. And we got off to a poor start against Leicester. Then you look at some of the other games coming up. Newcastle away, we've been absolutely brutalised up there under two different managers now, Antonio Conte and Ange Postecoglou. Arsenal, we were 3-0 down inside 38 minutes last year in the North London Derby from set pieces, which has been a huge problem from people on Ange Postecoglou, his reluctance to maybe work on them and fix that issue. Then you've also got Brentford coming up, which we struggled to beat twice last season, and then Man United. So I want to know, guys, is today a must-win for Ange Postecoglou? And if not, is he under pressure? Jack, let's start with you, sir.
I don't think he'd be under that significant enough pressure from Daniel Levy and the board if he didn't get all 3 points in this game. I think it does, the few games after, though, then he does need to start winning games, and he does need to probably win the North London Derby or at least get a good result there. And then he does need to get a good result away from Newcastle. I don't know if a manager would do very well if we received another thumping yet again away from Newcastle at home. I know Conte got one, but Ange has also received one as well. And I think Spurs fans at this point, are really shuddering almost more at that fixture than we even are at sometimes the North London Derby. And so I'd say that Ange, results sadly are part of the business, and you can't go 3-0 down at halftime in North London Derby. You just simply can't, whether it's your fault, whether it's, not your fault, or, even some mix in between. You can't really have that because the results on paper are part of being a manager, sadly. It can't always just be, oh, well, the style of play is there, the attacking football is there. You can see, kind of the rumblings, or you can see kind of the foundations, there. You can't really say that for so long. Eventually you do have to start picking up results. And I think Ange Postecoglou needs a result today. Is that going to mean, the end of his job if he doesn't? No. But if he doesn't end up picking up 3 points quickly after that, then yes, I will say he's going to be sadly put under pressure. I don't think it's entirely his fault that he would be, but that is just the nature of the game. You, like you said earlier, Dave, you have to work with what you have. You got in X players, that are supposed to be for your system. Whether you think they're totally ready or not is another conversation. You still have to be able to get over the line and get results. And sadly, with Ange Postecoglou's style of play, that line that I just said, get over the line, doesn't seem to happen as much. Like, that's his one little kind of thing with his style of play. It does feel like we need to just beat teams 3 goals, 4 goals to nil in order for it to really feel like, that was a convincing game. Whereas previous managers, they could, kind of chip away at these sort of like 2-1s and 1-0s and sort of sustain, the whole, results is all that matters, type of logic. It cuts both ways. And I think Ange Postecoglou is sadly on maybe the other end of things, where he plays a very aesthetically pleasing brand of football that people want, but he doesn't always seem to get the results that are technically required to be a Tottenham Hotspur manager and not to be under pressure. He could do this at a Brighton, a Brentford, a Burnley, and I think he would be under no pressure whatsoever, to be honest, because people would probably be okay with the style of play. But with Spurs, it's a bit of both. We're a big enough club that you should be able to play a convincing style of play, but you also should be able to get over the line with results. And I think Ange Postecoglou at the tail end of last season was not doing that. He had some very concerning results. And even the Leicester City game will just kind of, we'll chalk it up to it just being bad finishing, but that can't happen too often. Eventually, the blame sadly will be put on your doorstep. And that just comes with being a manager at a big football club like ours.
No, 100%, especially a football club that are always in and around the top 6, but are dying to get over the line and participate and win trophies. It adds even more pressure. Absolutely spot on there. And Spurred for Life says can't sack another manager. And look, 100%, I agree with you. I don't want to sack another manager. I'm happy to give Ange Postecoglou this season again, heading into next season. No problem at all. In fact, I've been saying this for quite some time. We can't keep hiring and firing managers. At some point, you have to give a manager time to build it, like they had at Arsenal. With Arteta, he didn't get off to great starts. The fans wanted him out, but the board backed him, seeing he was the right man behind the scenes. And look at the benefits of it now. I 100% agree with you. However, in modern day football, if you don't pick up results, you don't keep your job. And that's just the way it is. That's the ruthless nature of the game right now. You don't give managers time because there's so much money involved in every aspect of the game trying to deliver. It's the same with managers. You just don't have that time anymore. The clubs ain't willing to put that money in and pay that money out without you, delivering results. And when you look off the back end of last season, heading into this season and some of the fixtures we've got coming up, which I am going to put out a short during the week. I think it's an absolute crucial period for Tottenham Hotspur. It can go one of two ways. We can actually use them games to pick up results we didn't last year, and it could be the catalyst we need and the confidence boost we need to really kick on as a football club, really kick on as a team under Ange Postecoglou. Or they could be jobs that very well could cost him his job. And that's where I'm a bit concerned or a bit nervous, maybe, bit weak-kneed heading into this period. But I'm also eager to see what happens. I do believe we've got a better squad than last year to cope. But let's see if the squad can turn it into results. That's a different thing altogether. But Ribsy, the Belgian Hotspur, says Ange should not be under pressure regardless of this season. The project needs to be seen in isolation and allowed to take its course. ENIC must stick to the plan. Do you agree? Do you think they have to stick to the plan, just like them idiots at Arsenal did for Frotetta?
Yeah, well, they are idiots, but you can't deny the effect that's had, right? Look, I don't blame our fans for saying things like Ange out. I mean, the thing, like, think about it from the point of view, like when Nuno came in, right? I mean, how many of us were just like, what are you doing? Why are you bringing this guy in? I don't want him here at all. He's not going to last. And as soon as he started to do what we all knew would happen, we all called for him to go out. So, I mean, there's a lot of people who had that opinion with Ange to begin with. They probably either don't rate Australian football managers, which, can I blame you? How many have there been, that have been of Ange's level? Not many. So, either they didn't know Ange or they don't like his football or whatever, And this is the thing. We've trained our club has trained our fans to act this way by sacking managers when they have a run of bad form.
Very good point.
That's you can't turn around and say, how dare you say, we're going to sack this, we want this guy gone, when that's exactly what we've been doing for the last, 10 years or whatever. So that's just the reality of it. And in terms of the pressure, here's the thing, right? I mean, if Ange isn't acting like he's under pressure, well, he should, because this is, as Jack was saying, this is the very top level of this sport. Very few football managers get to manage at this level of the sport, especially Australian managers. So he's got that chance, and this is his shot, and yeah, there's going to be factors that are beyond his control, things like recruitment, just bad luck. There's a million reasons why you can fail as a football manager, but I think that acting as though you're not under pressure at any point is doing the wrong thing. And I feel, I don't get that impression from Ange, though. I feel as though he knows how tenuous a position is as the manager of Tottenham Hotspur. He knows.
Do you think he understands that he's under pressure? Do you think he feels?
I think he does. I think he knows it from the day he stepped in. He knows it doesn't matter how much they talk about, we're trying to build we're changing the youth and we want you to be here and we're going to do your football and that can change in a week. If he gets 7 losses on the trot or something, you can't tell me he's going to stay as manager at Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah.
He just won't. And nobody would. I don't think anyone would, and it's the reality of it. So it's I think it's a terrible idea to sack him. And I'm not saying that. I said this last time I was on. I've been a Spurs fan a lot longer than I've been an Ange fan. So I'm not the kind of person that's going to sit here and say you should keep him forever because he's fabulous. He is a high level football manager. He's going to have his fans and he's going to have his detractors. He has to perform in order to stay in his position. And if he messes up to the level where he gets sacked, then that's just how it is. That's the reality of it. So he has to perform. But I also think that people need to be aware that this is a project. Ange wants to win. He really does. He's never going to stand there and say, well, don't expect to win this year because I'm trying to improve this and that, and maybe next year it's going to be better. So every time people say things like, oh, but he says we should be competitive, or he says that we should be challenging, it's like, well, what else is he going to freaking say? He's not going to say, oh, I reckon about 12th is going to be good this year.
And if he didn't say that, people will be asking where his ambition is, right?
Yeah, very good point.
Exactly. He's got, so yeah, I know that there's no real answer to this, right? He's just got to do well enough to not lose his position. And we have to be understanding, but we also have to understand that fans have been told through the actions of the club that we get rid of managers if they don't perform to the standard that we expect. And that's
Very good point,
the way
Ripsy.
the club runs.
We've been conditioned to sadly put managers under pressure as a fan base because the nature of the club has been a bit like a Watford, where we do just sack managers the moment that it starts, kind of stinking up a little bit, instead of just embracing the stink or embracing kind of the noise that comes with bad results. The club has conditioned us as fans because they've sacked people quite ruthlessly before that we start to then think, well, results are dropping, time for him to go. And I think there's, kind of a bit of acceptance that we have to take from that yes, we kind of do probably have to write out these bad results that can come, but I don't blame necessarily fans for sometimes having that sort of short, whatever you call it, short tolerance or, low tolerance for, these bad results or something.
Yeah.
It's what the club have sadly made us do.
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. And plus, it's just the nature of modern day football now as well. Like I said, managers just are not given time to build things. But like Deborah Smith said, hopefully Ange can act like a man not under pressure. And look, that's one thing I think we will get from him. He'll never act like he's under pressure. He is one of the ice coldest men I've ever seen under pressure. It's absolutely class to watch. But Dermo, Tequila 316, he says, got to break the hire fire manager mindset. Need to give more time, just like the boys are saying.
Look, I do. Look, I hate saying I can remember the 80s, right? I hate saying it because it makes me first really old, but I can. And I can use that experience of what it was like back then. Football's different now to then. Of course it is. Football evolves. So does management evolve. But if we had sacked Keith Birkinshaw after we got relegated in 77, would we have had the success buying Ozzy and Ricky and the success that followed in the early 80s? I don't think we would have done. And I think we've got to now back Ange. We've got to give him time. We, as fans, are so impatient for success, so impatient for trophies. There's fans that have never seen us win anything. I've seen us win 10 trophies, 9 trophies in my lifetime as a Spurs fan.
So what are you moaning about then? You're lucky.
Well, but no, that's the point I'm making. I've seen us win a European trophy. I was alive when we won the UEFA Cup. I've seen us win 3 FA Cups, 2 League Cups. I've seen us win trophies where there's fans that have never seen us win anything. All they've seen is Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal winning trophies. And you can understand the frustration from the fan base because they want Tottenham to be successful. And it gets to a point where I think the older fans have to take the lead on this to explain to the younger fans, these things, this is football. Football works in cycles. Teams have success, teams have failure. Whoever thought Man United would be struggling after the success they had under Sir Alex Ferguson? They've won trophies since then, but they haven't had the same dominance they did under Fergie. And Tottenham will come good again. Ange will get us there. If it's not Ange, then somebody else will pick up the reins and take us to the promised land. But I think you've got to give managers time. We have not given a manager a full second season since Pochettino. And fans are too easy and too quickly, I want that manager out. But who do you want in? Who do you want to take over? Do you want a Ryan Mason? Do you want to go through all that debacle again? No. We need to give Ange time to get it right. And that is the problem. Modern day football is a pressure cooker. If you don't get success, you're out. Look at Liverpool with Klopp. Bought them success because they're given time. Every manager's won something at Tottenham has been given more than 2 or 3 years to win something. Do you know what I mean? You cannot keep sacking and firing. It has to stop. And I do believe if you want to be successful, you have to start on the foundations. And the foundations Ange is building are building on the same foundations Bill Nick had and Keith Birkinshaw had. He's just building the house. He's brought my Tottenham back. He's brought the Bill Nick, Arthur Rowe, Keith Birkinshaw soul back into the stadium. I can feel them in the stadium now when I do go there. He's building the house. He's repairing the house that Bill built. Give the man time. We will be successful. We will win championships and cups under Ange. Let's not be so quick to throw him out the club. And then who do we get? Another rebuild. I cannot take another rebuild. I'm getting old. I want to see us win something. Come on, Tottenham.
Southgate's hanging about. You know, that would be a dream person to come in for Daniel Levy. Will do everything he wants in the press conferences, won't speak out. You know, that's an absolute dream for Daniel Levy, and he can position it. I've brought in the England manager that's brought them to World Cup and Euros and stuff like that. So I can see that already in the line. The Hotspur Hood says, if Ange doesn't adapt, making a couple of changes to tactics, like only one inverted wing back going forward at a time, so 3 at the back, he will be gone by January. Levy wants top 4, 25 years of history, says so. I look, 100% agree with you. I do think that is maybe one area that Ange could help himself with. And it used to be an old-fashioned thing. One fullback goes, the other one sort of pulls in, you know, to create that tree, give you that extra solidity. But to be honest with you, I don't think the inverted wingbacks are the massive problem. Defensively, they are back in their fullback positions. It's just if we get caught out when they're high up the field like they're asked to do going forward is when it becomes a slight bit of an issue, because we are left exposed down the wing. But defensively, you know, they are acting as fullbacks, and I do think we need to understand that. But everyone knows, and I've been consistent with this, if Ange does end up carrying the can, or he does get put under pressure over the next few games, I don't blame Ange Postecoglou. I blame the club. I blame the transfer window that they gave him this summer so far. Same like I did under Conte. I blame some of the business they've done, screaming for defenders. They didn't bring them in. Under Jose Mourinho, it's the exact same thing. He wanted Kim Min-jae. They went and spent more money on Joe Rodon because that's who they would prefer, you know, rather than someone like Kim Min-jae. So I don't blame the managers at Tottenham down the last few years. They're automatically put under pressure from some of the poor transfer windows that we have under their tenureship. Last season, we had a good window under Ange Postecoglou because they needed to, because the pressure was on. Postecoglou took the pressure off, and it feels like they've reined it in a little bit this window, and it's pissing me off. It's the board that are putting these managers under pressure, and I feel like we all get hyped up within going straight after manager, and then once he ends up carrying the can, then we start focusing on the ownership. What we need to start doing is focusing on the transfers and the ownership while the manager's in the job, and actually sit there and go, no, You will not sack this guy. We want this guy back. Go and back him properly. That's what we should be doing. And I feel like we almost do the board's work for them by almost going after the manager as soon as things go wrong, instead of questioning other things and have they done the best for that manager. Last summer, I can have no complaints what they've done for Postecoglou, and I made that clear. This summer, I've been consistent. I do have complaints with what they've delivered for Postecoglou. And unfortunately, we can sit here and we can speak about Postecoglou's tactics, substitutions, stuff like that. But realistically, they haven't done enough in this window for him. And that's why he's under pressure, in my opinion. But big up, everybody. Keep getting your comments in. We are going to move on very swiftly because the lineups will be out in just a couple of moments. Brian Timlin, good to see you. Roy Keane would have given Romero an unholy bollocking in the dressing room after that defending. Absolutely spot on. And that's what we need. But again, Roy Keane actually would have done it on the pitch. In the dressing room was far too late. Far too late. Do it on the pitch in the heat of the battle where you can actually correct these issues. No point in doing it when you're reviewing tape or when you're in the dressing room. Seems to be a modern day thing. No one likes being called out on the pitch in front of the cameras, in front of the fans. You know, they want it done behind closed doors. But what they fail to neglect is it doesn't really resolve anything doing it at halftime or doing tape. Big up, Brian. Absolutely spot on with that. And I think there's one more I wanted to say hi to. I can't see where it is. We've got Craig Chicken on a basketball. Fenner, love Ange. But to be honest, I wanted Glasner. Look, I think Jack would be, Jack's a fan of Glasner as well. I don't think, he'd be too upset if he was to come in here on that one. Jack, anything you want to say to Craig there quickly?
I think I might have sort of said in the past that I wasn't I admired what Glasner had done at Eintracht Frankfurt to have won a Europa League in the way that he did, especially kind of doing more of, I think, sort of an interesting kind of defensive brand of football while still having some of those German principles of the pressing. I thought was pretty admirable. And he, to a degree, has probably been the best Wolfsburg manager that I've seen in at least a while now, probably in the last 5, 6, 7 years, maybe, to a degree, if not a bit longer. But I wasn't actually totally keen on him, to be honest. I just didn't think he was totally suited for our level because he wasn't totally the most attacking manager. that we wanted to have. You know, Spurs fans were crying out for pretty much an Ange Postecoglou type of style of play. And I didn't think Glasner is necessarily that way. I do think he has a bit of conservative type of a style to his approach with you know, the way he sets up. Yes, he has some attacking principles, but I do think for the most part, he was more defensive than other German, you know, Bundesliga managers, but he isn't actually German. I believe he is actually Austrian, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I think, you know, with Glasner, he's shown to be a smart guy, and he's actually suited for the Premier League because I think he has mix of attacking principles and defensive. But to be honest, at the time, I don't think I really did want him. And I don't think he really has the personality that would also really suit maybe our club, because part of it is being able to handle the stupid questions from some of our media, you know, journalists and things like that. And I actually think Ange Postecoglou does a better job of it than maybe someone like Oliver Glasner would. To be perfectly honest, you know, I'm not sure how Glasner would handle the question of, you know, are you training your players to shoot? I wonder if he would either lose his cool or he'd end up just, you know, sort of boring out the place. So to be honest, I wasn't the biggest Glasner fan, Craig, but I'm actually a big admirer of him. It's just I don't think was suited for Spurs, maybe, to be honest.
Big up, Craig. Let us know what your thoughts on what Jack has to say there in the chat. And then Hotspur Hoods come back, says, I blame a manager that sees a problem and is too stubborn to change or ignore problems like Ange did. The zone of marketing he ignored. Is that his fault? Look, Dan, 100%. The things from corner kicks, his fault. But at the same time, you blame the board and the owners for a lot of stuff that go on at Tottenham Hotspur. If the board brought in a better striker than Dominic Solanke this season, Dominic Solanke still has time to prove me wrong, but it would be a massive help. If they brought in better right wingers for him this season instead of Udebar, it would be a massive help. If they brought in a number 6, it would be a massive help. And I don't think there would be as much questions about his system. We always go, it's up to the manager to adapt to what we've got to a certain degree. But it's also up to the club to bring in players to help that manager's system move on forward. And that's where I'll blame the club. Set pieces, Ange takes sole responsibility. But in terms of the rest and the help that we've given them over the course of this transfer window, I think you have to put it on the club, to be honest with you, Dan. And also, big up DJ AK. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. Good to see you on these holidays in Mallorca. Great to see you, sir. And hopefully you're keeping well. The lineups are out, guys. I was hoping to get to some lineup questions sooner, who we want to see in the number 6 and stuff like that. However, other topics, you know, seem to be a bit more important today, which is good. But the lineup is out. Vicario starts, in goals. Postman Porro is back in at right back. Absolutely sensational last week. Our only score of the season so far, with Romero, Van de Ven, and Edozie competing the back line, so completely unchanged there. James Maddison, and it looks like Dejan Kulusevski come into the lineup. Maddison keeps his place in the creative role. Kulusevski comes in for it, looking like Papa Matasar. Very interesting there. He's back in the midfield, creating as one of them creators. He done a great job in preseason in that position as well as up front. So good to see him getting rewarded. I thought it was harsh that he was dropped last week against Leicester. I thought Ange missed a trick there. And then Bissouma comes back in. A lot of people wanted to see or Archie Gray in there. But if you go back and check out my predicted lineup, I did say he will go with Bissouma. That's why he only got the 1-game suspension. They only gave him 1 game because they want him for this tough period of games. And he's back in there today. He owes all of us a massive performance. Let's see how he gets on. And then going into the forward line, maybe a bit of shock for some, shock for me, because to be honest, I really do not believe playing Son up front is going to help us in this game, with Everton having 6 foot plus guys across that back line. We had largely struggled to find Son in them sort of games last year against teams that made low block. And I feel like Ange might get this one wrong, but it does show that I was correct in my evaluation that I didn't think Richarlison would be fit enough to start. So it's Son up front. It'd be interesting to see what way Johnson and Udebar work, because I know Udebar has been training as a right winger in training this week. So I'm not sure whether he'd be on the right and Johnson off the left, but I think you will take it here. I know Udebar did play most of his Burnley games off the left-hand side, with Johnson probably on the right. So that's probably how this lineup is going to go. We'll run through it one more time. Vicario goes, Porro at right back, Romero, Van de Ven at centre back, Edozie at left back, Bissouma as the CDM, Kulusevski as the number 8, Maddison as the number 10, Johnson off the right, Udebar off the left, and Son through the middle. Jack, can you read that bench?
Yeah, let me zoom in for that if I can. It is Fraser Forster, Spence, Davies, Dragishin, Gray, Sarr, Bergvall, Werner, and Richarlison. Interesting that Richarlison has been left on the bench, because that gives me two thoughts. Either Ange was doing a bit of what managers do, where they don't want to actually give away everything, with the status of their players, like whether they actually are fit enough or not. I wanted to believe Ange when he said that Richarlison is fit, he's ready to go. But then he also kind of said he's only had 2 weeks of training, this type of thing. So I was more out of hope that, Richarlison is fully fit, but maybe he isn't. And that we might be, seeing the consequences of that. And then, we're also seeing the consequences, sadly, of him being very, very loyal to Brennan Johnson by the looks of things, because I think he could have thought about maybe Bergvall coming into the team or something like that, and keeping Kulusevski up top instead of putting Kulusevski in this number 8 role. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
Before we go deep into further for your and Ribsy's thoughts, and we need to find out why he keeps persisting with Brennan Johnson no show. I don't understand it. We're going to let Dermo go here. Dermo, really appreciate your time today, my man. Why do people need to get over to the channel? Oh, you're on mute, lad.
Very unprofessional. You think after 3 years I'd be used to that now. But if you do want to come over, I like what I have to say, please join us over at THFC Toledo. We're only 89 away from 2K. So I'd love to get there before the end of the first international window. Please, I'd be grateful. There's myself, Philip Brady, the godfather of Spurs fans. There's Tequila, and there's Colum over there, and also Carl, and Boris Wilk. So we've got a nice little group, just gelling together now to bring you more Spurs content this season. And I'm going to have to do my little bit of a match start up, before the watch, and I'll go over the lineup with Philip. But yeah, please, but do it here first, guys. These guys give me my break, so please like and subscribe here as well, and just follow Ribsy wherever he is. He's absolute great guy to have on the channel, and I love being on with him. But yeah, thank you once again, guys, for having me on. It's always an honor and a pleasure and a privilege. So thank you very much. And very quickly on the lineup, Johnson, if you don't perform today, never play for Tottenham again, because I'm not going to back you anymore. I'm sick of Dave calling me out on Johnson. Don't perform today. I'm not a Johnson fan anymore.
Yeah, massive.
Ruthless, Dermot John, to your man.
Yeah,
showing signs of Daniel Levy.
It's a massive U-turn from Dermo and Brennan Johnson. We've had many debates about him on the fan show. But guys, please do get over, check out Dermot's channel. Let's try and push him towards, did you say 3K, Dermo, or 2K?
2K.
Let's try and push him towards the 2K, folks. Dermo, big yourself up, my man. Hopefully we get the victory. Enjoy the game. Come on, you Spurs. I'll speak to you later on.
Yeah, speak to you later on. Come on, you Spurs. And big Axe, we
Come on, you
trust.
Spurs.
And Chirpy. Come on, Chirpy. See you later.
Chirpy out. Dave needs his job.
Chirpy
Big up,
out,
Dermo.
yeah.
Oh, see you later. Absolute brilliant from Dermatron, guys. He's absolutely brilliant on these pre-match build-ups, so make sure you get across and show him some love on his channel. Just before we keep going with the lineups, guys, and get everybody's quick thoughts on them before we end off and get prepared for the watch-along. If you have enjoyed today's stream, please make sure you do smash that like, hit the likes up. It really helps send us out into the algorithm and give us a good boost, especially if you want this channel to be seen by more Tottenham fans around the world. Also, feel free to smash the subscribe button and join the ever-growing community. And speaking of ever-growing community and joining it, simply click that join button, become a channel member. Plenty of members-only content for you guys to feast your eyes on. And also, if there's anything you think we haven't discussed today that you want us to cram in before we leave, feel free to put it in a super chat. Shows great support to the channel, and we'll make sure we address it before we end off. Jacko, Brennan Johnson, Ange keeps persisting with him. Why? Are you concerned that the forward line, where's the creativity really going to come from with Son now going through the middle? It was a huge problem last season. And also, Basuma and Kulusevski into the midfield.
Yeah.
What do you think the thinking behind that is? And do you think it'll make a massive difference?
Good questions there, Dave. Just quickly to distract myself, I really do not like the new lineup images that they are using. Why is the bench like the tiniest font in the world when they have all that yellow space just to stretch out the characters? Like, I just don't simply get it. And then also the Kraken logo, I get it, it's a sponsorship and everything, but for some reason they just decide to leave this like empty space up top here. Like I maybe it looks aesthetically nice, but again, for actually reading out a lineup for us, it's really difficult. And I just find it exceptionally annoying, to be perfectly honest. So it's just one of those that I'm just getting really ticked off with actually right now when trying to set up the watch along, because it's just, there's no good way to set it up. It's really terrible on the eyes. But on the lineup, I don't know why he's persisting with Johnson, Dave. There's a version of this lineup where he could go with Basuma, Madison, Bergvall, or even Sarr again. I know Sarr has not been playing very well of recent, but he could do that. And then he could stick with Sonny on the left, Kulusevski down the middle, and then Odegaard on the right. He just doesn't need to move Kulusevski into the midfield if Richarlison isn't healthy. If Richarlison isn't healthy, that's well and good. There's nothing Ange can do about that. Or if he even doesn't trust Richarlison because of his injury record, that's well and good. He doesn't need to push him, if he doesn't feel like he's ready. But to persist with Johnson still at this point, I do think he is, basically hurting himself. And I hope Johnson has a good game, and I hope Johnson can prove us wrong. He looked like he was going to have a good game against Leicester, but then he didn't end up shutting us up with, a goal or, a good assist or something like that. He kind of still started to, show the signs of that frustrating player that we know him to be. So this is one that I'm very concerned with. We'll see maybe if it ends up being a different shape or something, let's hope that that's the case. But if it is going to be Sonny down the middle, we saw that story last season. Sonny just isn't the same player playing as a striker down the middle, especially against a low block team like Everton, where pretty much all of their players are like 6 foot plus. It's just not really a team that suits Sonny playing down as a striker. And then in midfield with Basuma, it's interesting. I think Basuma would have probably done well, maybe sitting out another game. That Bentancur injury, just came at the wrong time, and he had to make a tough decision. Probably he had to make a decision about, do I go with a guy who I know is capable of playing in this role, in the way that I need him to, or do I go with a young kid who I have a lot of promise in and a lot of, faith in, but he doesn't really know if Gray is maybe totally ready yet to take on the number 6 role. He almost seems more content with playing Gray as a center back than he does actually as a number 6. So yeah, Dave, I think there was another player you wanted me to touch on, but I already forgot at this point after ranting about the lineup graphic. So
no,
I apologize about that.
No, you've pretty much covered it all. Someone answered your graphic question, Jack. They said they had to sack the graphic designer to pay for Solanke.
That's a great comment.
But Jack, before we let you go, and I'll finish this up with Ribsy, we'll let you go and get that watch along set up and get a nice cup of coffee and maybe a slice of toast or something into you, because it is really early, by the way, everybody, for Jack. A commitment is unbelievable. Who's going to score our first goal of the at home of the campaign, Jack? And what's your score prediction?
Ooh, I went for a 2-1 when I spoke with the Everton fans and with yourself, so I'm going to stick with that 2-1. I say Sonny gets on the score sheet, even if he doesn't, have, that role on the left wing. I think Sonny will probably put away a chance because he's that sort of player where we've missed chances and then he'd be the guy probably to step up the next game. And I'm going to go for an Odegaard goal. I'm going to say that Odegaard, is going to be hungry today. He wants to nail down that right wing spot. He probably is playing on the left wing today, but he wants to nail down some sort of spot in the starting 11. And, that can happen with a young kid. If he plays with that confidence, a bit of that freedom, as like a free hit to take someone's spot, I think he can do that. So I'm going to say that he ends up taking a goal today and, puts people under pressure.
No, 100%. And I really hope so. I'm after screwing up here. Just bear with me 1 second. I need to get back to the original layout. Yeah, there we are. There we are. I'm wrecking people's eyes. But Jack, big yourself up, my man. Really appreciate it. Sorry, Richarlison isn't starting. We might have to say that proof later on in the game. Might be okay for you because at least it'll be a bit more of a reasonable time to really shout and scream the house down. So, that'd probably work out in your favor. But Jack, I'll see you very soon on the watch along, my man. Thank you very much.
Will do. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Great hosting by Dave. Absolutely great to be on with Ribsy, our man who's been with us for 3 years, somehow has tolerated us for these 3 years. Thank you, Ribsy. But just actually, I was going to say, Dave, I might have jinxed it because I wore my Richarlison shirt, this morning. And I was like, should I wait until the lineups are announced? But I decided just to wear it because I realized that I needed it for warmth. So that was a mistake. That was on my fault. I'm like an Adrian Chia now. I'm using superstitions.
I told you yesterday, Jack. I told you yesterday, Ange said he was fit most of last season and we never seen him. That probably could be the case. But look, I'll speak to you soon, my man. Go and get some breakfast. Thank you very much.
No
Absolute
problem.
Legend. Everyone, big up Jacko. The commitment up at 3-4 a.m. this morning is absolutely insane. Ribsy, A few things to discuss here. I mean, first of all, what's your thoughts on the lineup? Basuma back in straight after being suspended. Kulusevski brought into the midfield. She keeps persisting with Brennan Johnson, but also a debut for Udabur.
Yeah, well, obviously Basuma kissed just the right amount of ass in order to get back into the team immediately. So good on him. I think that Sarr did him a favour by not really being as good as we know he can be last week. Not that Sarr was the only one who really was not up to snuff last week, but a lot of people called him out, and I think that was pretty fair. He didn't have his best game. Kulusevski starting is great because honestly, I think his preseason was brilliant, and it was a bit rough him not starting last week. I sort of understand why, and I get what they were going for, I guess, but it's good to see him back in. He's a shout, maybe score a goal today. We'll see. Johnson, I mean, just ditto everything that you and Jack said. I can't understand why you would persist. Surely, at some point, you have to tell him that his performances aren't good enough, and that's why he's on the bench. And maybe you'll see a reaction from that, right? I mean, but continuing to do the same thing, just expecting it to just magically improve, I just can't see it. But maybe he'll prove us wrong. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a good performance from him today. I certainly hope so. Odobert, awesome. I think it's great if you're gonna buy a guy like him and you're gonna put the confidence in him and say he's ready for this step up to this level, then he's got to prove it. And I think putting him in at home against a team like Everton, it's going to be a tough team to break down, but he should get plenty of opportunities to try and strut his stuff. So hopefully that'll turn out well. I think a few people are a little bit surprised that Richarlison isn't starting, and obviously he has a good record against Everton. So I kind of agree with that in a way, but also he hasn't had the amount of football that some of these other guys have had, and he might not be match fit or whatever. So I get that. Apart from that, I'm pretty happy with the team. I mean, obviously Solomon isn't there because he's doing his medical or whatever at Leeds. And apart from that, the only person on that bench that I'm not really happy to see there, well, I guess two, but mostly, Davies is obviously someone that we could improve, but we do need that left back up, and we need a centre back up, so he covers both of those off to some capacity. Probably against Everton, it's not going to be an issue, right? And Werner just hasn't been that great, and I'm not really sure why we got him back, but who knows? He obviously they see something there in him he's got something he can offer us. So we'll see. But apart from that, not a bad team.
Not a bad team up until the forward area, I would argue. Look, today I think it's a huge test for the likes of Vicario, Romero, Van de Ven especially. Have they made adaptations to being stronger in the air, being able to deal with set pieces, balls into the box? It's one area very vulnerable. It's going to be called into question today against Newcastle and against Arsenal. So I'll be looking for them to stand up today in that regard, and hopefully they can do that, because Everton are a danger from set pieces and crosses into the box. Pedro Porro, I have my doubts about how long he's going to last today. I know he rolled his ankle last week and stuff. I would expect a change somewhere around 65, 70 minutes with Jed Spence coming on and, having Pedro Porro ready for that Newcastle game. Destiny Edozie, I hope he learned his lesson from Fatawa last week. He needs to get out and stop them crosses with a hell of a lot more aggression. Stop them from coming in, especially today, because that's what Everton absolutely thrive off. When it comes to Basuma, I expected Basuma to walk straight back in here. I got onto it straight away. And as soon as they only gave him a one-game ban, I knew exactly what they were trying to do. And for me, I think it's more of a psychological thing. Is it any coincidence that we had our best run of games last season when this guy was in his best form? As soon as he dropped, it all fell to shit. I think that one game suspension was to get Basuma maybe refocused with a point to prove and hopefully use him to drive us through this next difficult period of 4 to 5 games. So I think potentially it could be a masterstroke, but also with Postecoglou under pressure, he was always going to revert back to Yves Basuma. And I don't think anybody should really be surprised. He is the guy that Postecoglou gave the reins to for that number 6 when he arrived in. He's the guy he sought out most to put his arm around and stuff like that. So I don't think anyone should really be surprised. James Maddison, he done well the other night. Back to more, getting back to more of the Maddison that we like to see or that we brought here in the first place. Still want to see him step up when the game's getting tough going the other way, but that might come. Hopefully he can build on that performance. When it comes to Kulusevski, this is where I think we've made a massive mistake. You could have played Papamatasar or Bergvall there and put Kulusevski up front. He played up front for preseason, done very well. He played up front last game of the last season, scored 2 goals. Played up front against Luton when we went down to 10 men, led the line like an experienced player. And I think this is an area that Postecoglou might have got it wrong. Against Everton, they're going to be big physical guys in there. Son gets lost in there. Son doesn't want to be in that box, operating the way Solanke did the other day. Son wants to be dropping deep, getting on the ball and running at them. So I think you're going to miss that vocal point in the middle if Kulusevski is not the striker in this team. Maybe it could be that Udebert slots back in there. Son stays on the left, Kulusevski goes up front. Could be the case. Let's wait and see. But it does look like Kulusevski is in the midfield. And for me, I think this is one where Ange may have got it a little bit wrong. And then out wide, I don't know why he keeps persisting with Brennan Johnson. I really do not understand it. And it's going to come back and cost him his job. Today is not the sort of game that suits Brennan Johnson's game. Brennan Johnson will be an okay impact for this club off the bench. When he can operate, when opposition players are tired, there's a lot more space. He's not under as much pressure. They're not as compact because of their tiredness, is when this guy will make an impact. But starting games, looking to break teams down, looking to put balls into the box, play them through balls that are needed, looking to get on the ball, take players out of the game, draw players into great space for others. It's not his game. And that's why, until he learns to adapt that, he'll never start at Tottenham Hotspur. And Ange Postecoglou really needs to get to grips with that and take that on board very quickly and recognise that very, very quickly. Let's see if Johnson shows anything different. I don't think he will. As for Udebert, I'm really excited to see what this guy can bring. Don't get me wrong. I do think we should have addressed the wing position with a bit more gusto about us. But the guy's here now. And he does have good attributes, better attributes than Johnson. Getting on the ball, taking on players, beating players, creating space for others, shoots from outside the box, has an eye for a pass. Reminds me a lot of Aaron Lennon. However, one thing that hasn't been spoken about since he signed, that was at Burnley, was the consistency of the end product off the initial good stuff he does. That's going to be inconsistent, and I do think Spurs fans will have to show him a degree of patience. But let's wait and see how he gets on. On the subs bench, Spence back on there. Like I said, I think he'll get a game. Ben Davies, Dragusin, Gray, Sarr, Bergvall, Werner, and Richarlison. So in the forward line, we don't really have too much to be able to change the game. So we're pinning a lot on these guys making it work, these guys that are starting here today. And as for Richarlison, I was saying to Jack in the members live show yesterday, I just don't think he was fit enough to start, and I don't think that's why he's starting here today. There's no way you can have no preseason like he had and be ready to start 90 minutes today. So that's probably why he's not starting. But that is the lineup. That is mine and Ribsy's thoughts. We'll take this here from Donovan Oosterreicher. Says, I wonder if Ange is trying to win the game in the first 15 minutes and take advantage of the early chance and domination we establish against Everton's backups. Look, they are missing a hell of a lot of players today, but they'll all sit in and make it tight like they did in both games last year. I do think the game plan is to look to try and get this over early and get the likes of Pedro Porro, who's maybe carrying still a bit of a knock, get them off early and give some of our better time players a little bit of a rest for Newcastle. I do think that would be the plan. Of course, that's the plan. That was the plan at Celtic. Go and beat teams nice and early, bring the players off the bench, let them go and keep that relentless nature on, where the others can sit there and have a cigar and talk to each other about how they destroyed the opposition. That's ultimately where Postecoglou wants to get to. That's always the game plan. Let's wait and see if it works today, Donovan. But good to see you, my man. How did your trial go? Great to see you, sir. And then I think there was one more in here. Remember 22 months as well. Really appreciate it. And good to see you back around, Donovan. Good to see you back around, my man. And then Hennessy for 21 months. Big up, Hennessy. Hopefully you're keeping well and enjoying your summer. Being a bachelor or whatever it's called, the degree you got. Fair play, my man. Says, come on, Tottenham. It's my birthday. Give us a win. So everybody, please, let's wish Hennessy a nice, happy birthday. Hopefully he doesn't go too far on the Hennessy today as well, celebrating the birthday. He says, come on, you Spurs. Big up to you, Dave and Jack. Hope you're well. Look, we're keeping well. Well, we're well when Tottenham are winning. When Tottenham aren't winning, things aren't so well, Hennessy. It's just the nature of life. But look, hopefully we can get the win today for you on your birthday, sir. Big yourself up and happy birthday to you. And then we've got this from Paul Markey. Ribsy says, what the F? Think about Johnson still in the team. Are we looking to lose?
You got to ask the question, don't you? Like, is he doing that thing where you keep playing the player that's not working out to show that you need a replacement? I mean, managers have done that to us before. I don't think so. Nah, I don't think so. But but it would, it would be an explanation at least, right?
Look, is there that degree to it? I would like to hope or wish that's what he's doing. Rizzy, you're spot on. However, I do feel like Ange Postecoglou really likes Brennan Johnson. I do. He played him an awful lot last season. He's persistent with him over preseason. He's persistent with him now, despite having alternative options to be able to play out there, even to the point where he's just ignoring Kulusevski being an option out there anymore. So I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe he's trying to line him up to marry Ange's daughter or whatever. He'd be the right guy for that. Don't get me wrong, and keep it sweet in that regard. But as a player, I do not understand it. And you look at the other night, everything came down the left-hand side or through the middle. Barely anything came down the right-hand side from Johnson. And then when he did get into a couple of good positions on the edge from the stuff coming in from Son, he was absolutely wasteful. And this is where, we can keep persisting with and go, eventually it's going to pay off. On the law of averages, eventually he's going to get an assist or a goal, yes. But is it as much as we need to be able to execute what Ange Postecoglou has said, which is a title challenge? I'm not quite so sure. And this is where my concern comes in. And I've said this many times. If Ange keeps persisting with Johnson, he's going to cost him his job and he's going to keep the scrutiny on him. That's just the way I see it, to be brutally honest. Let's wait and see what he does. And Team Ed, J-Med says, Johnson had 5 goals and 10 assists last season at 22. Yeah, look, fantastic. But most of them were as an impact player off the bench. Where Johnson really came to highlight is when we had to rely on him to start games because of injuries. He's not good enough to start games. And that's where the questions are still around him. When he was an impact sub, impacting off the bench, no one had any complaints. But where we have had complaints is when he starts games. It's not good enough, in my opinion. And then we've got this from Kay, and then we will end off, guys, and go and get on to the watch-along. He says, Kulu and Madison would sit on the edge of the box and we would break the centre midfield. Quick pass to flanks. Porro and Adoji may stay deeper to defend to defend the sides. Do you think that could be a part of the game plan today, Ribsy? Because Postecoglou hasn't really shown that he's ever going to ask Adoji or Porro to sit back a little bit.
I mean, who knows, man? Possibly. I mean, Kay here seems to have a lot of confidence in his or her analysis there. Defend the sides, against a counterattack? Maybe. It's going to be. I just have to see it because it's just we got players in the team I haven't seen play at all for us yet, and obviously that front line's a bit different without Solanke or Richie in it. So I'm curious. I'm intrigued. I want to see it. I think that that might explain some of the choices there, but I'll be perfectly honest. I have to see it before it all makes sense to me. Kay's obviously got that sort of foresight sort of brain where they can pick the team into the way it's going to play before they even see it. So that's cool. That's cool. It's good to see people like that.
For me, Kay, I don't think he'll ask the fullbacks to sit whatsoever. I think he'll keep asking them to do the inverted runs. And the reason why he does that is when you look at the centre midfielders and then when you look at where the fullbacks go, when Romero and Van de Ven get the ball, it actually opens up the pass straight out to winger first time, one-on-one, to get on one-on-one with the fullback. Van de Ven the other night done that brilliantly for Son. Romero didn't do it for Brennan Johnson. And for me, that shows that Romero doesn't want to give him the ball because he doesn't have belief or confidence in him. But the reason why the inverted fullbacks make the run is to take players with them to allow our wingers to be isolated one-on-one. The reason why the centre midfield stays central sometimes, or a lot of the times, is to allow, not take up that space, to not bring attention to our wingers so we can get the ball out to them one-on-one. It's what we've done brilliantly the other night down the left-hand side. When it comes to Kulusevski and Maddison, I would hope that the two of them will get further up if we do put them under pressure and sit around the edge of the box and look to smash anything that comes their way, looks to play it through. Look, I'm really excited to see what a Kulusevski and a Maddison can do. Me and Jack have spoke about this over the course of preseason against some of the lower teams in the league that you should be beating that will automatically sit back against you. We would like to see what Tottenham can do with two number 10s rather than have a defensive-minded option like Papamatasa are in there. We're getting that today. So hopefully we will be able to create a lot more chances with the two sort of number 10s in this team. And I'm very excited to see how it gets on. And probably something that we're going to cover a little bit more when I get kicked off on the watch-along. Guys, that brings us to the end of the show today. I will see you on the watch-along. We are starting that at 2:30. Make sure you come along and join us. Hopefully we can get a massive win today. I know a big 3-4-0 win would really ease the concerns and almost paint a different narrative heading into this difficult fixture period. So hopefully we can get the job done. Hopefully, despite our concerns about the lineup, Ange just absolutely nailed it. Let's wait and see. I want to say a massive thank you to you, Richie, for today. Who's going to get our first goal, our home goal of the season? And what's your score prediction?
Oh, hell, on debut, let's say Odegaard gets the first goal of the season. Why not? Why not? He's got a good chance. I think this is going to be a scrappy game. This is exactly the kind of setup that we struggle against. You know, they're going to sit in deep, and it's going to be a slog. But I reckon it's going to be 2-1, and I think that scoreline will flatter them. But I still think it's going to be just because we've been so blunt on attack. I just can't see us scoring more than 2. I don't know where they're going to come from. So yeah, that's where I reckon we're at.
Wow, let's wait and see if we can start off nice and fast and take one of our early opportunities. Could be a goal fest, but we do know we've had problems breaking everything down. So massive thank you to Rimsey for this evening. A massive thank you to Jack for getting out of bed early. And also Dermatron as well. Guys, most importantly, a massive thank you to all of you Spurs fans out there who choose to tune into this show. It's what keeps us going. It's what drives us forward. And also, it's absolute great therapy reading your comments as we go along. So really appreciate that, guys. Then, lastly, I want to say thank you to the people who have gone the extra mile today. Patrick, Eltal Cockerell, Del Support, Ribsy, Dark Sung G, Adrian Chia, Paul Markey, Craig Fenner, Hennessy, Donovan Oosterreicher, and Kay. A massive thank you to every single one of you people who have gone the extra mile. None of these channels that you see on YouTube have any big wigs behind them. We all do it off our own back, and the support is absolutely greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. Guys, smash the like up. Follow me over to the watch along. Let's talk about an Odegaard debut, the 2 number 10s that are starting in the lineup today, and hopefully a bloody victory. Nonetheless, it's going to be a roller coaster. It's going to be fun. See you back here in 15 minutes. Come on, you Spurs. In the mighty Ange we trust. We never stop. Let's bloody go.
Come on, you Spurs.